Shun Yu hits the wall under the watchful eyes of the public. The court physician dared not tamper with anything, Chu Yihan said coldly, his oppressive gaze piercing through Qin Ji. Between the court physician and Qin Ji, only Qin Ji was the most suspect. Chu Yihan, do not make baseless accusations against my mother. She has always been fair and would never make a mistake with the results. Although Qin Muyan couldn't accept the outcome, he believed in his mother and couldn't think of any reason she would err. Chu Yihan, the imperial family of the Great Wei dynasty respects you, but that doesn't mean you can insult my aunt, the eldest princess of Great Wei. Qin Ruli's face was filled with indignation. The imperial family of the Great Wei dynasty always treated each other with mutual respect and affection, and did not allow outsiders to interfere. Seeing the conflict between the Qin brothers and Chu Yihan escalating, the Empress Dowager spoke out, "Enough, the 9th prince means well and bears no ill intent. Now that the results are out, Jiawa is indeed my own granddaughter, so let's put an end to this commotion." Although she recognized Shun Yu's identity, her fond gaze still lingered on Su Yingxue. "She looks just like Mai Zheng-er." Kneeling at the Empress Dowager's feet, Shun Yu clenched her teeth in silent hatred. The Empress Dowager still held on to her fondness for Su Yingxue. If she had another trick up her sleeve, Shun Yu would still find it difficult to cope. Resolutely, she stood up, holding her skirt, and cried softly, "I know I am not as beautiful as Miss Su, nor do I possess her noble status. It's clear Jiawa is not worthy of this princess title. Better for Jiawa to seek my mother in the netherworld." With those words, she violently rushed toward a nearby pillar. Bang! Blood splattered everywhere. The Empress Dowager covered her heart in alarm. "Jiawa, Jiawa, cousin." Qin Ji and Qin Ruli hurried over too, lifting her up to take her away and calling for the court physician to treat her, causing a frantic bustle in the Funning Palace. Only Qin Muyan approached Su Yingxue and said in a low voice, "Yingxue, let me take you back to the palace to rest for now. It's not suitable for you to stay in the palace any longer." At this moment, Qin Ruli was preoccupied with the suicide attempt of Shun Yu, temporarily forgetting the predicament between Chu Yihan and Su Yingxue, which also helped avoid some conflicts. Su Yingxue was about to say something when Chu Yihan pulled her into his embrace. His eyes were cold, and his words carried an innate authority. "There's no need to trouble yourself, Your Highness. I will protect the princess. Chu Yihan, this is the Great Wei dynasty, do not overstep." Qin Muyan snorted coldly, still unwilling to let go of the suspicion Chu Yihan had towards his mother earlier. But Chu Yihan, holding Su Yingxue, walked away. They just left like that. Su Yingxue did not turn back to look at him again. A sense of disappointment flooded Qin Muyan's heart. His dejected figure was noticed by Qin Ji. Qin Ji, observant and detail-oriented, knew she hadn't misjudged the situation. Qin Muyan must have feelings for Su Yingxue. But now, Su Yingxue was already Chu Yihan's princess. Qin Je's brow furrowed tightly at the thought. The lapse in focus she had experienced earlier still lingered in her mind. It was as if she had done something instinctively, yet now she couldn't remember it at all. Her body had never exhibited such strange symptoms before. It was as though a man's voice had issued her a command in her mind. "What's wrong with mother?" Qin Muyan turned around, noticed Qin Ji standing behind him with an inscrutable expression, and quickly showed concern. Qin Ji extended her hand for him to hold and said, "Mu Yang, come with mother." Shun Yu was being treated in a side hall while Qin Ji and Qin Muyan went to the courtyard in the palace. Qin Ji dismissed the palace servants nearby, and when alone with Qin Muyan, her scrutinizing gaze fell upon him. "Did you refuse to marry Jiao Hua because of this Su Yingxue? You like her." The quirks of Qin Je's tone was very certain, and whether it was her gaze or a woman's intuition, both were accurate. "Yes, this son loves her deeply," Qin Muyan confessed without intending to hide it. Qin Ji took a sharp breath. "If Su Yingxue truly were your cousin, and were as yet unmarried, your fondness for her would be understandable, and mother would never stand in your way. But what you saw today, she is not your cousin, and may even be suspected of impersonation. All this aside, most importantly, she's already married, to the 9th princess consort. Do you not know what kind of man Chu Yihan is? Do you intend to compete with him for a woman? Qin Muyan clenched his right fist, his eyes stubborn and resolute. This son does not wish to compete with him. If Yingxue is willing, this son is prepared to go through fire and water to marry her. But now that Chu Yihan treats her well, this son can only wait. Wait until one day she needs him, then he will reappear by her side. What? You intend to wait for her? Qin Ji felt her blood boiling. Wait for her to be discarded by Chu Yihan? Or wait for her to come seduce you again once she no longer upholds her marital fidelity? Muyan, do you realize what you're saying? You are the emperor's own brother, the Scarlet Flame King of the Great Wei dynasty, a prince exalted above 10,000 people. How can you be so ruled by your emotions? Mother, this son likes her and wishes to protect her. As for cousin Zhao Hua, you and the others may decide on the marriage arrangement. This son will marry her as the princess and will surely provide for her all her life, but this son does not have feelings for her. Please inform Imperial Grandmother and cousin on behalf of this son, he said. Qin Muyan's expression was cold and stern, passion burning within his chest. As a man standing tall and upright, he was unable to marry the woman he loved, but his heart, it must belong to her. Zhao Hua would have to marry him, and he could take responsibility, keeping her in the prince's mansion all her life, but he would never love her. Qin Ji was so angry she could smoke from 7 orifices. But she knew her anger could not sway Qin Muyan in the slightest. The passionate blood of the Great Wei dynasty's men ran through his veins, and not even his imperial brother could change that. Qin Ji had no choice but to first visit Shen Yu. Along the way, she was reminded again of the voice of that man in her mind. In the palace, Su Yingxue rested her elbows on the railing, gazing at the beautiful mountains and waters of the courtyard, her face full of confusion. Why would it be like this? The eldest princess and Shen Yu should have no dealings of interest, and Shen Yu couldn't possibly drive her to do this, but why did things turn out like this? Behind her, Chu Yihan poured a cup of tea, with a curling fragrance rising, the entire room filled with a faint tea aroma, refreshing and pleasing. As she breathed in, it penetrated her body, like a cool breeze in the forest. Chu Yihan brought the tea to Su Yingxue and even personally fed it to her mouth. The possibility of being manipulated by someone cannot be ruled out, that Mu Fei is problematic. Being manipulated, Su Yingxue thought of how she inexplicably left the 9th prince's mansion. Was she not controlled by Wu Dao too? Wu Dao's drug. And this person, Mu Fei, indeed radiated strangeness in every aspect. Su Yingxue remembered their meeting at the ghost market. Had he detected her identity then? She shared this suspicion with Chu Yihan. Chu Yihan spoke indifferently. He is from the Great Wei dynasty, and may have some connections to your mother. Otherwise, that piece of blue-scale jade would not have been easy to take. Moreover, he is a man of the ghost market. If he wanted Wu Dao's drug, it wouldn't be unattainable. Clasping Chu Yihan's hand, Su Yingxue took another sip of tea and said, "Then we should capture Mu Fei for interrogation." Chu Yihan pinched the soft flesh on her cheek with his right hand and said, "Not urgent, let's wait for the shadow guards to report." Granting marriage to Qin Muyan, she thought Mu Fei would demand money and valuables just like her parents did. But Mu Fei let out a series of chilling laughter. Ha ha, ha 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 ha, what are you laughing at? The laughter made Shen Yu's skin crawl without reason. The reward I want, you better pay close attention. I want you to secure your place as princess, not giving Su Yingxue the slightest opportunity. Otherwise, your end will be the deception of the imperial family, and you'll be torn apart by 5 horses. Mu Fei leaned in close to Shen Yu, his cold voice echoing in her ears, making her envision a horrifying scene, a dark path completely lined with menacing skeleton. She grasped her chest in fright, but once Mu Fei left her, she finally saw clearly that this was just the splendid side hall of Funning Palace. There were no such ominous skeletons. It was just her mind playing tricks on her. Mu Fei reminded her, play the role of the princess well in the palace, win over the Empress Dowager, and don't let Su Yingxue get close to her. When the time is right, make them enemies of Su Yingxue. He was so terrifying that Shen Yu couldn't help but purse her lips in agreement. I understand. As for your parents, I advise you to deal with them sooner rather than later, else they will surely become a stumbling block for you. Mu Fei's voice reverberated in her mind. Shun Yu's heart trembled fiercely. Those were her biological parents after all. Was she really expected to kill them? But then she thought how useless they were, nearly exposing her. If they were to live and stay in the palace, they would inevitably mess things up again. Without her identity as the princess, she wouldn't just be unable to go back to selling fish, but her very life would be in jeopardy. No. I will not let anyone take what's mine. All of this, it's all mine. Shun Yu gazed greedily at the wealth of the palace, a hint of ruthlessness flashing in her eyes. Once Shun Yu's identity was confirmed, the Empress Dowager showered her with even more affection, sending treasures and silver jewelry flowing towards her like water, letting her ask for anything she wished, as if she wanted to pluck the moon from the sky for her. But Shun Yu always appeared sickly and aloof, showing little happiness. The Empress Dowager thought, is Jiao still worried about your origins? As for the 9th Princess Consort, I think she is a reasonable person and has not entered the palace again. The matter of the identity must be a misunderstanding. The Empress Dowager felt regret over Su Yingxue, but the matter of blood relationships couldn't be changed, so regret was all it could be. Hearing her say this, Shun Yu meekly responded on the surface, yes, the 9th Princess Consort will definitely not compete with me for the title of the princess. What Jiao cares about even more is the blood relationship with the Imperial Grandmother. After all, Imperial Grandmother has been without a mother for so many years, and I haven't been able to see my mother either. As she spoke, she covered her face and cried, drawing out all the pain in the Empress Dowager's heart. The Empress Dowager's heart ached and she shed tears, treating her even more tenderly. She wanted to give Shun Yu everything she had. She thought about her old age and the possibility that her eyes might close before long, and that Jiao Hua, not yet married, would have no one to look after her. So she summoned Qin Ji and Qin Muyan to her side and brought up the subject of an arranged marriage again. Qin Ji had no objections, as marrying another granddaughter cherished by the Empress Dowager to Qin Muyan would further secure his position in both the imperial family and in the court. As for Qin Muyan, he was expressionless and simply said, I shall comply with the Empress Dowager's wishes. His willingness to marry Shun Yu brought great comfort to the Empress Dowager. Qin Ruli drafted a decree, and on the same day, it was proclaimed to the world. One less person, the bed feels so big lease. Shun Yu, having her wishes fulfilled, was naturally overjoyed. However, during dinner, she wanted to speak more with Qin Muyan, but he was cold-faced and refused to spare her an extra glance. Inside the palace, Chu Yihan received a secret report. Chu Yifeng has had an incident. Your Highness must return to Yungui City to check on him. Su Yingxue raised an eyebrow. Could it be that he is refusing his medicine again, causing his condition to worsen? Chu Yihan remained silent, which meant there probably wasn't any other issue. Chu Yihan had intended to take Su Yingxue with him. If he still refuses to take his medicine, you can just knock him out again. Let's not. After all, he is your brother. If I hit him too many times, we'll still have to face each other in the future. Su Yingxue awkwardly tugged at her lips. Admittedly she loathed the madman Chu Yifeng, and Chu Yihan would favor her for life. But what if Chu Yifeng recovered and held a grudge against her? When that time came, wouldn't her husband be the one caught in the middle? It was best to stop while she was ahead. And so, Su Yingxue, embracing Chu Yihan, whispered, I want to settle the affairs of the Great Wei dynasty before returning. I must expose Shen Yu and Mu Fei's schemes. Mu Fei is cunning and not easy to deal with. Once your highness leaves, he will surely find an opportunity to strike. Chu Yihan stroked Su Yingxue's nape, his eyes full of concern for her. The terror he experienced on the day of their wedding was something he never wanted to relive for the rest of his life. He also no longer wanted to be apart from her. Su Yingxue curled her lips. What is there to fear when I have my husband's cold jade? With your shadow guards spread across the 4 kingdoms and 9 provinces, how could I possibly come to harm in the Great Wei dynasty? Chu Yihan patted her head. That's true. The shadow guards will ensure your safety at all times. Chu Yihan was somewhat reluctant to leave her, as he had planned to set off at dawn. But using Chu Yifeng's critical condition as a reason, Su Yingxue urged him to leave right away, in case Chu Yifeng died and it was too late. Rong Sheng wouldn't indulge him, after all. Chu Yihan was persuaded by her reasoning. Yet when the time came to depart, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. Upon his departure from the palace, Su Yingxue finally breathed a sigh of relief, and flopped onto the vast bed, rolling around several times both lengthways and widthways. I never noticed before, but this bed is huge. Su Yingxue heaved a long sigh. In the previous days, when she slept with Chu Yihan, he would either press down on her or insist on holding her as they fell asleep. She found it difficult to turn over, feeling as though only a small part of the bed was hers. Now that Chu Yihan was gone, she finally didn't have to endure being pinned down, and would not wake up with a sore back and aching waist the next morning. But at night, there were always uninvited visitors. Princess Zhao Hua has arrived. The voice of a palace maid rang from outside her chamber. Su Yingxue got up from the bed and slightly raised an eyebrow, to think she has come at this hour. If Shun Yu was looking for her, it certainly wouldn't be for anything good. But Su Yingxue was not one to shrink from trouble. She dressed herself and rose to meet Shun Yu just as she entered. Her palace maids opened the doors for her. With a mocking curl of her lip, Su Yingxue said, "Princess Zhao Hua holds such a noble status. How can you be so ill-mannered as to barge into someone else's chamber unannounced? You must be used to it from all those years as a pauper, right? Those who have risen from nothing to a phoenix's perch detest nothing more than the reminder of their days as a crow in distress." Shun Yu was the typical case. At the mention of the word pauper, her expression turned sinister as she wished she could tear Su Yingxue into pieces there and then. "Su Yingxue, do you think you can do as you please just because you consider yourself noble? This is the Great Wei dynasty, and you are living in a Wei dynasty palace. I, as princess, can have you expelled at any time, or have you killed." Shun Yu falls to his death lease. Shun Yu's eyes were bloodshot, set against her pale little face, which emanated an eerie aura. How could Su Yingxue be afraid of her? She arched her picturesque brows, her demeanor relaxed and at ease. "If you could kill me, would you need to find me? The knife would already be at my neck, right? Coming here to make threats is something only those who are powerless would do. You." Shun Yu's psyche was firmly gripped by her words. She stepped back several paces to the balcony, where the night wind howled, lifting her skirts. She glared at Su Yingxue with cold eyes. "Do you think you can succeed? Everything that belongs to me, you can't take it away. It's everything that belongs to me, you can't take it away." Su Yingxue pointed at her, correcting her. "Is that so? The 9th prince has left. Do you think you alone can accomplish anything significant?" Shun Yu's lips curled into a smug smile, her eyes filled with malice. Su Yingxue observed her position. She gradually retreated closer to the railing. The chamber she was staying in was on the 2nd floor. Shun Yu's arriving late at night must have been an attempt to frame her. Su Yingxue dashed forward to grab Shun Yu, but numerous hidden weapons were suddenly shot towards her. She quickly pulled out her red jade soft whip to defend herself. Bang bang bang! She knocked all the hidden weapons to the ground, preventing any from injuring her. But Shun Yu fell from the railing, screaming, "Ah! 9th Princess Consort, please spare me." Thud. Shun Yu's entire body crashed to the ground, with a pool of blood forming behind her. The palace maids who had followed her, waiting downstairs, were already screaming in panic, "Ah! Princess! Princess, please wake up." Su Yingxue leaned over the railing to look outside, allowing the palace maids to clearly see her face. One of the palace maids beside Shun Yu pointed at her and shouted, "9th Princess Consort." It was the 9th Princess Consort who pushed the princess down. "She is trying to murder the princess. Someone come quickly, go and inform the Empress Dowager." Within the imperial palace, all who were originally at rest were stirred into commotion again because of Shun Yu. Shun Yu's injuries were grave. The court physician said her life might be in danger. The Empress Dowager fainted upon hearing the news and was supported back to her chamber to rest. Qin Muyan received the news and hurriedly rushed into the palace. His mother, Qin Ji, was busily attending to both sides, while Qin Ruli stood outside the chamber with a gloomy expression. Su Yingxue really knows no gratitude. If something happens to cousin and imperial grandmother, I will surely kill her. Imperial brother, this matter must not have been done by Yingxue. She's not like that. There must be some misunderstanding. Qin Muyan quickly defended. His eagerness to protect Su Yingxue, unbothered by the condition of the Empress Dowager and Shen Yu, angered Qin Ruli greatly. Mu Yang, what is wrong with you? Imperial grandmother and cousin are in such a dangerous state, and you don't show any concern, yet you care so much for that outsider. How can Su Yingxue be mentioned in the same breath as our kin? Imperial brother, I'm just speaking on the basis of facts. Even if Yingxue isn't our cousin, she's a kind-hearted woman and would never harm anyone. Zhao Hua going to find her in the middle of the night is already odd. Doesn't that suggest Zhao Hua has an ulterior motive? Nonsense. Qin Ruli, furious, punched Qin Muyan, causing him to stagger. Blood trickled from the corner of his mouth, but Qin Muyan, enduring the pain, still insisted, I trust Yingxue, she wouldn't hurt anyone. As for Imperial grandmother, it's because Zhao Hua is sick. We must wait for Zhao Hua to awaken and properly interrogate her. Qin Muyan's stance was resolute, but in Qin Ruli's eyes, this was nothing but being bewitched by Su Yingxue. What exactly happened when Zhao Hua fell from the palace? I am but a commoner devoted to serving the great Wei dynasty. If your highness harbors such doubts, it is best I no longer remain in the palace, Mu Fei proclaimed. Saying so, Mu Fei attempted to take his leave. The Empress Dowager hastily called out, stay where you are. She halted Mu Fei and then turned a sharp gaze towards Qin Muyan. Muyan, what is the meaning of this? You don't inquire after Zhao Hua's condition but instead question her life-saving benefactor. Are you suspecting this Mu Fei of harming Zhao? It was clearly that Su Yingxue who plotted against her. The more the Empress Dowager had previously adored Su Yingxue, the greater her disappointment was now. That Su Yingxue likely used her beauty to gain sympathy from me, seeking to steal Zhao's identity. Such a scheming and malicious woman, yet she is the 9th princess consort of the great Cheng dynasty. How can you be deceived by her? Imperial grandmother, she would not deceive me, I assure you. Yingxue is truly not a villain, she wouldn't harm Zhao Hua, Qin Muyan protested. Enough. The Empress Dowager, livid with anger, exclaimed, if you plead for Su Yingxue once more, do not come to see me, your imperial grandmother, again. Get out. Face swap please, Mu Yang, apologize to your imperial grandmother at once. Qin Ji walked up to his side and gave him a hard pat. Qin Muyan flipped his robe and knelt down, yet remained completely silent, as if engaging in a silent protest. The Empress Dowager snorted coldly and no longer paid any attention to Qin Muyan. Qin Ji shook his head discreetly at Qin Muyan and followed the Empress Dowager away. When Mu Fei left, he gave Qin Muyan's retreating figure a mischievous curl of his lips. After regaining consciousness, Shen Yu sent for him. Once Mu Fei arrived in Shen Yu's chamber, she immediately asked, eager and impatient, well? Has Su Yingxue been captured? She was too agitated, aggravating the wound on her back, and the entire person let out a scream of pain. Ah, it hurts so much. Mu Fei shook his fan and laughed coldly. If you hadn't fallen so convincingly, how would the Empress Dowager believe that Su Yingxue harmed you, and why would she capture her? Shen Yu was in so much pain that she felt as if her bones were falling apart, almost convinced that she was truly about to die, that she would not make it. She clenched her teeth in anger. Did the Empress Dowager capture her or not? When will she execute her? She had almost lost her life framing Su Yingxue. If Su Yingxue didn't die, wouldn't her fall have been in vain? Mu Fei told her in a leisurely manner, Su Yingxue has been captured, but it was Qin Muyan who took her. Right now, he has placed Su Yingxue in the imperial prison but has assigned his trusted aides to guard her. No one can touch Su Yingxue, hence, there's still much for you to do. Shen Yu gnashed her teeth in irritation. Why? Why does my cousin favor Su Yingxue so much? What does Su Yingxue have that earns his favoritism? Qin Muyan wouldn't even spare her an extra glance, even though she and Su Yingxue looked identical, both born with equal beauty. Why does Su Yingxue have what she doesn't? Because your face still needs to change. Mu Fei used the edge of his fan to lift Shen Yu's face. Indeed, this face bore some resemblance to Su Yingxue's, and it could be considered somewhat attractive. Compared to Qin Zheng, however, it was far inferior. The blood ties between Su Yingxue and Qin Zhang were almost unquestionable. That face was the best proof. Shen Yu frowned in confusion. My face still needs to change? Can faces be changed at will? Even Shen Yu had never heard of such a thing in the Great Wei Imperial Palace. Naturally, it can be changed, but it is somewhat painful. Mu Fei's mouth quirked up at the corner in a sinister smile as an ominous air spread across his entire face. He dismissed all the attendants from Funning Palace, performing the facial transformation alone for Shen Yu. Throughout the process, Shen Yu was in so much pain that she dared not even cry out loud. Because Mu Fei reminded her that if she attracted attention and was discovered, she would be walking a path to her own death. Now that she and Mu Fei were in the same boat, she had no choice but to follow his lead. However, she attributed all the excruciating pain she was enduring to Su Yingxue's account. It was all her fault. Why did she have to appear in the Great Wei? Why did she have to compete with her for the identity of the princess in the Great Wei dynasty? Had she not appeared, how could she possibly suffer like this? It was all Su Yingxue who caused her harm. Shen Yu bore the agony of flesh and bone being torn apart, biting down hard on her teeth. Su Yingxue, I will make sure you never recover. She must die. 2 hours later, Mu Fei washed his hands in a copper basin. It was already the 14th or 15th basin of blooded water. After cleaning his hands, he told Shen Yu, no one must see your face for the next 3 days. Wait for me to remove the stitches, and by then, you will have a face identical to that of eldest Princess Qin Zheng. Mu Fei also has a gentle side lease. Shen Yu hid behind the curtain, not daring to move an inch. Understood, understood. With each word she spoke, her entire face painfully twitched. She didn't even dare to let her tears fall. While Mu Fei had not yet departed, a palace maid came to report that Shen Yu's adoptive parents wanted to see her. Shen Yu had no desire to see them, knowing they had come not for money, then it must be to discuss leaving the imperial palace. Her gaze shifted to Mu Fei, a ruthless light flashing across her eyes, and she simply told Mu Fei, take them away and say I allowed them to leave the palace to go home, then dispose of them. Oh! These are your biological parents, Mu Fei said, his laughter tinged with mockery. A wave of sorrow surged in Shen Yu's heart, but it was quickly replaced by her desire for glory and riches. Her expression was icy. What use do I have for such parents? They will only hold me back. I am to be the princess of the Great Wei dynasty. There's no point in keeping them around. Make sure you handle it cleanly. Consider it mutual assistance between the two of us. Mu Fei curled his lips. All right, there are plenty of ways to kill people in the ghost market. Grinding their bones to dust, turning them into human pigs, it's all possible. Human, what exactly is a human pig? Shen Yu was taken aback. Mu Fei was all too happy to educate her. It's when you chop off someone's limbs while they're still alive, gouge out their eyes, cut off their ears, then slice off their tongue, and afterward, submerge them in a jar of medicinal liquor. Keep them alive, feed them a little food every day, periodically change the medicinal liquor, just like a flower in a pot, keeping them alive. What? Shen Yu's very soul trembled with fright. How could there be such a twisted method? Wasn't this making life worse than death? To care for a person like a plant, and yet, to keep it alive. Just thinking about it made Shen Yu break out in a cold sweat. You can't bear to do it. Mu Fei leisurely enjoyed watching Shen Yu's terrified expression, as if to him, this was some sort of amusing affair. No, I can't. She quickly shook her head in denial. Just take them away. Do whatever you want, I'll leave it to you. So your biological parents are part of a deal you made with me, Mu Fei chuckled softly. Yes. Being able to trade useless people was better than anything else. The thought of the human pig one Mu Fei had described often made Shen Yu feel nauseous, and she suffered from nightmares night after night. Mu Fei took Shen Yu's parents away, telling them he was granting them silver trading items to return to the Great Cheng dynasty. These naive commoners simply followed him. Once outside the imperial palace, he took them back to a dilapidated old house. From the outside, it looked like a sealed-off official residence, very worn down. But inside, the house had already been cleaned and arranged. Alt Jing, dressed in a cherry blossom pink long gown, stood in the courtyard. From afar, when she saw Mu Fei return, she ran up to him with small, quick steps and cheerfully called out, "Master, you're back." Her open and bright eyes seemed to scatter stars around, their glittering specks of light bringing a sense of ease to one's heart and mind. Mu Fei gestured to her, and Jing obediently stood before him, her voice clear, "Master, you've been gone for several days, Alt Jing has missed you so much. The house has been cleaned, and all of your belongings have been put in place. Please, go and rest a while." Mu Fei rubbed Alt Jing's head, a rare warmth flickering in his sinister eyes. "Alt Jing is really good." Behind him, Shun Yu's parents, crouching slightly, voiced their confusion. "Young Master Mu, weren't you going to give us gold and jewels and let us go? Why have you brought us here? What is this place?" Want to share life and death with the Master Lease? Seeing her distress, Mu Fei put away his folding fan and set it aside. "Don't worry, I just happen to be hungry." Jing couldn't cook or make pastries, she only learned after coining to his side. Yet, as Mu Fei ate the pastries, his mood remained calm, and gradually, he finished a plateful of them. Jing looked at the empty plate, incredulous. "Master, don't they taste bad?" Mu Fei patted her head. "They're not bad, don't doubt yourself." "Master," Jing's eyes suddenly reddened, and a restrained joy emerged. "Master, you're too kind to me. These pastries, they're really not good." If it hadn't been for an extreme hunger, she was afraid even she couldn't have finished them, but Mu Fei ate them all. Seeing her tears, Mu Fei pulled her to his side and carefully wiped her face. "Why are you crying?" "I'm just happy. You really are good to me, Master. I've never had anyone treat me so well before." Jing's lips puckered as tears rolled down one by one. She remembered her own past. "I never knew who my parents were. Ever since I have memories, I was scavenging food from garbage heaps. Later I was captured and enslaved, nearly died several times, and when I was sold to the ghost market, had you not bought me, Master, I would have been tortured to death long ago. You are the first person to ever be kind to me." Moreover, she felt that Mu Fei doted on her. He killed all the female slaves that had been sold with her, leaving only her alive. He made sure she was well fed and well dressed and took her with him everywhere he went. Even at night, he would have her sleep behind the screen to keep watch. A dull pain throbbed in Mu Fei's heart. "Just this is being good to you?" "Yes, Master, you're really very good." Jing couldn't help but lean into his embrace, her delicate, tender arms encircling Mu Fei's waist. "Jing wants to be with Master for a lifetime, to serve Master." "Is that so?" Mu Fei's lips trembled slightly. He, a man despised for his misdeeds, stained and unworthy, also had someone who would be so loyal, desiring to be with him for a lifetime? "Yes, Master, don't you have the heart-eater Gu?" Jing lifted her head from Mu Fei's embrace, her eyes sparroting. Mu Fei nodded. "This thing is not good. After two people take it, if one dies, the other cannot live. Jing wants to take it with Master. This way, whether Master lives or dies, Jing can always be with Master." Jing's clear eyes glistened like the purest glaze, devoid of any impurity. Her purity made Mu Fei avert his gaze from her eyes. He pushed Jing aside. "Never say such foolish things again." Jing thought Mu Fei was angry and quickly knelt before him. "Yes, Jing understands her mistake. I won't dare to say it again. Master shouldn't be angry. The heart-eater Gu can be harmful to the body. Jing does not dare to hurt Master." "It's not." Mu Fei almost wanted to tell her that the heart-eater Gu wouldn't harm the body, and even if it did, he had ways to counteract it. He had plenty of good medicine here. But he couldn't be so selfish as to have Jing take the heart-eater Gu with him. Mu Fei took a deep breath, letting out a long sigh. "Enough, you may go. Order someone to deal with the two in the firewood shed, to kill them once they've had enough." Mu Fei frowned in agitation. Jing trembled slightly as she got up. She wanted to ask Mu Fei if it was something she had said wrong that had made him angry. Trapping the Grand Empress Dowager Lease, but seeing Mu Fei pinching the bridge of his nose, she didn't dare to speak up. However, those two people in the firewood room. Ah Jing could tell that they were not people from the black market, but ordinary commoners. The woman might have been a bit sharp-tongued, but she didn't deserve to be killed. After all, before their master killed someone, he would first torture them to the brink of death. She mustered her courage to relay the order, merely stating that the master wanted to torture them but did not mention letting them die. This could, for the time being, spare their lives. Even if they were turned into human pigs and kept alive, at least, they could still be alive. Shun Yu was recovering well in the palace, and after 3 days, she was waiting for Mu Fei to come and remove her stitches so she could finally see her face. However, a major incident had occurred at Funning Palace, throwing her into panic, and she had no choice but to seek Mu Fei's early entrance into the palace. Mu Fei, seeing her head wrapped like a mummy, responded coldly, "The time I sent you up, and your hurry is useless." Shun Yu struggled to get out of bed, grasping her head, eyes filled with urgency. "Do you think I want this? Ever since you left that day, cousin has been kneeling in Funning Palace, begging the imperial grandmother to see the truth. The imperial grandmother has been angered to illness several times." Mu Fei's lips curled in a mocking sneer. "What does it have to do with you? For every day you are sick and unseen, the Empress Dowager won't let Su Yingxue off the hook. The more Qin Muyan kneels and begs, the more the Empress Dowager despises Su Yingxue. This is in your favor, so what's there for you to be anxious about? Do you think I want this? I heard from the palace maids that my cousin has stubbornly knelt for 2 days and nights, begging the imperial grandmother to meet Su Yingxue. Has even threatened to resign his title of Your Highness to coerce her. The imperial grandmother has compromised and agreed to see Su Yingxue herself." Shun Yu was so upset that her head spun, nearly unable to hold up her head as large as a bucket. Mu Fei's eyes narrowed slightly, and a ruthless glint spilled out. The Empress Dowager must not be allowed to see Su Yingxue at any cost. Su Yingxue's medical skills made it difficult for anyone to rest easy. Even within the imperial prison, there was no stopping her from being able to verify blood relations with the Empress Dowager. Mu Fei made a decisive move, pulled Shun Yu in front of the mirror, and started removing her bandages. Shun Yu was still somewhat perplexed. "Didn't you say that the bandages couldn't be removed before 3 days were up? Can you, or can't you do it? Shut up." A fierce coldness overflowed from Mu Fei's eyes, terrifying Shun Yu to the core. After removing her bandages, Mu Fei did some additional reinforcement. Although her face was visible before 3 days were up, the effect of the medicine wouldn't be very long-lasting. Shun Yu's face would collapse eventually. But what did that have to do with him? All he needed was to use Shun Yu's current face to stop the Empress Dowager. Shun Yu, looking at her reflection in the mirror, couldn't come to her senses for a good while. Is this me? Why couldn't she recognize herself? There wasn't a trace of her original appearance to be found. She had become a completely different woman. And it must be said, this woman was too beautiful. Beautiful to the extent that even she couldn't help feeling inferior. Mu Fei yanked her up. "Stop the nonsense and quickly go stop the Empress Dowager. Don't allow her to see Su Yingxue. Even if Qin Muyan persists alone, you must accompany her and make her despise Su Yingxue even more, or else I will kill you." The knife in Mu Fei's hand was pressed against Shun Yu's neck, and she could feel that it was this very scalpel that had sliced open the skin on her face and remodeled her features. Now, she was scared for her life. She tensed all over. Understood. Her Zheng Lise, she would do her utmost. Seeing her leave, Mu Fei's eyes flashed with intense violence. He would definitely not allow Su Yingxue any chance to turn the tables. Qin Muyan, accompanied by the Empress Dowager, had already arrived at the entrance of the imperial prison. The Empress Dowager was elderly, and Qin Muyan could not rush her. He could only wait for her to slowly alight from the carriage and stand firm. As for him, riding the whole way, his knees, which had been knelt for 2 days and nights, were already numb with pain. When he moved to help the Empress Dowager, he himself staggered. "Take it slow." The Empress Dowager stood firm and actually gave Qin Muyan a hand in support. Looking at his swollen knees, the Empress Dowager sighed softly. I really don't know what you're thinking. What's so good about this Su Yingxue?" Qin Muyan said gravely. Doesn't the imperial grandmother think she's good? She resembles Auntie so much. Auntie was a gentle and kind woman, and so is she. The Empress Dowager's heart was suddenly blocked. Qin Zheng, because she was a kind woman, had been inadvertently kidnapped during the Lantern Festival and had been separated from her for so many years. This Su Yingxue. Enough, enough. The Empress Dowager shook her head. When she first saw Su Yingxue, that face had also seemed familiar to her. For the sake of her obstinate grandson, she would go and listen to what she had to say. But before they could enter, they heard someone shouting loudly from behind, from the carriage, "Imperial Grandmother, please wait for Jiawa." Jiawa! The Empress Dowager's attention was instantly attracted. The carriage that had been speeding along came to a stop, and Shen Yu's face appeared from within. The Empress Dowager's heart softened with pain. "Oh, my dear Jiawa, you're not yet recovered, how can you withstand such jostling?" The Empress Dowager hurried to help her. After Shen Yu alighted from the carriage, she immediately knelt in front of the Empress Dowager, her eyes brimming with tears. "Imperial Grandmother, Jiawa has been unfilial, worrying you. Jiawa is also concerned for you. Your precious health cannot endure the damp and cold of this imperial prison. It's easy for your legs to catch cold. Let's go back with Jiawa." The Empress Dowager was touched and helped her up. When Qin Muyan spoke out to admonish her sternly, "Since when is it your place to comment on the imperial grandmother's affairs? If you have an injury, you should be resting well in the palace. Otherwise, if you get hurt again, whom will you blame?" Qin Muyan's eyes were sharp, scrutinizing Shen Yu as if he were an eagle eyeing its prey. Her appearance was truly strange. Chastised by Qin Muyan, Shen Yu felt both embarrassed and annoyed, yet she had to maintain a frail appearance. "Cousin is right to reprimand me, but Jiawa is just worried about the imperial grandmother. The imperial grandmother is with your highness. What could possibly go wrong? Your intentions are rather odd. You've avoided the imperial grandmother for several days, to heal your injuries, and as soon as your highness brings her out of the palace, you hastily follow. What are you really up to?" Qin Muyan pressed her with question after question. Shen Yu was in utter turmoil but had to admit, Qin Muyan was indeed too astute. She showed no favor toward her cousin, treating her as an enemy, seeing right through her. If it weren't for Mu Fei's prior instruction, she would have revealed herself in front of Qin Muyan. Stabilizing her mind, she slowly raised her face, on the verge of speaking. "Imperial Grandmother, Jiawa is truly just worried about you." "You, Zheng'e, my dear Zheng'e." The Empress Dowager, seeing Shen Yu's face, had her eyes immediately well up with tears. Wasn't this her cherished, coddled treasure, Zheng'e? Sending a dream lease, your face. Qin Muyan slightly furrowed his brow, feeling that Shen Yu had changed from before. Her face had undergone a great transformation, almost identical to Su Yingxue. How could this be? Imperial Grandmother, Jiawa is well aware of her lowly status, and that she cannot win cousin's favor, but Jiawa is grateful for Imperial Grandmother's kindness. I will accompany Imperial Grandmother for life, with no regrets, just hoping that Imperial Grandmother will take care of her health and not visit Su Yingxue again, not step into this damp and cold imperial prison and harm your hell. Shen Yu wept with deep emotion, and with her face that was 99% similar to Su Yingxue's, the Empress Dowager's heart instantly turned to mush. She held Shen Yu in her arms and wept, "I won't go. I won't go. No one can separate me from my child. Other than you, I will meet no one else." The Empress Dowager said this as she prepared to get into the carriage with Shen Yu to return to the palace. "Imperial Grandmother, you clearly promised me that you would go see Su Yingxue." Qin Muyan blocked the way in front of the carriage, barring their path. "What are you doing? Jiawa has not yet fully recovered, and I must accompany her back to the palace to rest." The Empress Dowager scolded Qin Muyan with a stern face. "Imperial Grandmother, you clearly what? It was a mistake for me to leave the palace with you. It's better not to see Su Yingxue. Let your imperial brother deal with her," the Empress Dowager said seriously. Seeing Qin Muyan refuse to give way, she glared at him and scolded coldly, "Are you now disregarding even my words for Su Yingxue's sake? Get out of my way." Qin Muyan held back a surge of frustration, stepping aside, but he was still not willing to let go. shouting at the carriage driving toward the imperial palace, "Imperial grandmother, Ingxue is not a bad person, she is the best woman in the world." The best woman. Xunyu clenched her fist so tightly that her nails dug into her flesh, causing her palm to ache. Hearing these words, she wished she could kill Su Ingxue in the imperial prison right away. This wretched woman. How dare she compete with her for the princess identity and take away all of Qin Muyan's attention? Detestable. Truly detestable. Luckily, the Empress Dowager showed her pity, pulling her into her embrace, and Xunyu conveniently leaned against her knee. The Empress Dowager asked tenderly, "Jiawa, why does your appearance seem to have changed after a few days not seeing you?" Mu Fei had already prepared a reason for Xunyu about the face-changing matter. Xunyu said as he had taught her, "I dare not deceive imperial grandmother. In these past days, I dreamt of my mother. In the dream, mother pitied my solitary and miserable existence in the palace, and I told her it was because Su Ingxue resembled her more than I did, and hence I was treated so. Mother was angry and blamed herself for departing this world too early, causing me to endure such hardships. If she were still here, she would definitely protect me. She said she wanted to change my appearance to look exactly like her, so that no one could replace me." As Xunyu spoke, she lifted her tear-streaked face, showing her visage that greatly resembled Su Ingxue, close to the Empress Dowager's face. "When I woke up, I found that my appearance had changed. It was my mother's spirit in heaven, blessing me." Xunyu's pitiful state made the Empress Dowager even more heartbroken. She had originally not believed in spirits or Buddhism, but after Qin Zheng went missing, she set up a Buddhist hall in the Funning Palace, praying daily, believing that as long as she was sincere, her Zheng would definitely return. Xunyu's tale about the dream made her half believe, but after returning to Funning Palace, the chief maid reported to her, "Empress Dowager, something terrible has happened. The portrait of Princess Zheng in the Buddhist hall has been involved in an incident." Kill Su Ingxue Elise. What has happened? The Empress Dowager hurried over, supported by Xunyu on her side. In the hazy, incense-filled Buddhist hall, the portrait of Qin Zheng, revered and treasured by the Empress Dowager, hung on the wall, had been mysteriously dampened. The face on the painting looked as if it had been crying. How could this be? The Empress Dowager commanded the painting be taken down, clutching it to her chest and weeping sorrowfully. "My Zheng, have you come to me in a dream? Are you worried Jiawa is being bullied, so you cried?" "Mother, it's all my fault for not being able to stay with you all the time." Xunyu also began to cry miserably. After the incident in the Buddhist hall, the Empress Dowager's favoritism towards Xunyu grew even stronger. She not only bestowed all her treasures upon Xunyu but also allowed her to stay in the Funning Palace until her marriage, wanting her company every day. The Empress Dowager personally took care of Xunyu, administering medicine for her injuries, cherishing her like a treasure. Even Qin Ruli and Qin Ji showed exceptional affection towards Xunyu. For a time, Xunyu became the most esteemed person in the Great Wei, unrivaled in prominence. Looking at the palace filled with bestowed treasures, Xunyu realized that all these rare and valuable items were things she had never seen before, not even daring to dream of them. She extended her hand to caress them, greed flickering despicably in her eyes. Her true nature was laid bare in an instant. Mu Fei walked in, fanning himself, and seeing her like this, he sneered, "Are you satisfied with just this?" Xunyu was startled, and she caressed her own smugly satisfied face subconsciously. What's there to be dissatisfied about? After a few days, I'll marry cousin, and then, I will not only be a princess of Great Wei but also the noble princess of the Scarlet Flame King. Even the former identity of Su Ingxue can't compare to me. What a phoenix among people. Even the immortals would envy her, wouldn't they? With Su Ingxue still alive, why would you become the Scarlet Flame King's princess? Mu Fei mocked coldly. Chu Yihan is already on his way back. Once he reaches Su Yingxu's side and learns that she has been imprisoned, he will be furious. Even if it means going to war, Su Yingxu might consider the lives of the civilians, but Chu Yihan, that war-loving man, will not. If he attacks the Great Wei capital, what use will your title as princess be? Or maybe he wants to avenge Su Yingxue. Don't forget, although you have her face, you are nothing but an imposter, and Su Yingxue is the real princess. Mu Fei reminded her coldly. Shun Yu's heart, which had been floating on clouds, suddenly plummeted down, shattering into pieces. Su Yingxue, how could I forget about her? She must die. She must die. Without her death, I can never hold legitimate title. Shun Yu stamped her feet anxiously. But what can I do? Cousin is under some spell. He is inexplicably protective of Su Yingxue, and not even the imperial grandmother, my aunt, nor my older cousin can lay a finger on her. If Qin Muyan protects her, does that mean everyone else in Great Wei is just for show? Just fake your death a few more times, and the Empress Dowager and Emperor, for your sake, will have no choice but to order Su Yingxue's execution. Mu Fei's voice, tinted with a cold edge, drifted by her ear. Shun Yu clenched her teeth. He wanted her to hurt herself again. She had already suffered enough pain after falling from the building. But on second thought, if she didn't get rid of Su Yingxue, she would never be secure in her position as princess. The man she loved, Qin Muyan, only had eyes and heart for that wretched Su Yingxue. She couldn't continue like this any longer. According to Mu Fei's suggestion, Shun Yu caused 2 disruptions, using her mother's supposed visitations in dreams, claiming that if Su Yingxue lived, she would continuously torment her, infuriating the Empress Dowager who directly ordered Su Yingxue's execution. The truth revealed Lise. Qin Muyan hadn't neglected to intervene, but this time, even Qin Ruli didn't help him. Qin Ruli had his men block him, then they brought Su Yingxue into the imperial palace, saying they were going to kill Su Yingxue in front of Shun Yu to put her at ease. When Shun Yu saw Su Yingxue, her head covered with a black cloth and still struggling desperately, a mocking curve formed on her lips. Su Yingxue, you too have reached this day, yet you're still going to die before me. She remembered when she first encountered Su Yingxue in the street. She was dressed in shabby clothes while Su Yingxue was resplendent and noble, like a fairy from the heavens. Even though she saved her father and gave her money, she refused to help her any further. She knew very well that her family was poor. She said she was fated due to their likeness, yet she stubbornly refused to see her again or offer her some wealth and honor. If only on that day outside the Marquise Manor she had been a little kinder to her, treated her like a sister. She would not have needed to come and compete with her for the identity of the princess, nor would she have thought of putting her to death. This was all the karma Su Yingxue had brought on herself. Shun Yu was elated, feeling no shame for her actions. The Empress Dowager stood in the courtyard, her eyes sharp as daggers. Come, make your move, kill this person, to appease my Zheng spirit in heaven. Qin Ji watched the scene unfold before him, feeling somewhat reluctant. Mother, after all, Su Yingxue is the 9th princess consort. If Chu Yihan knew we killed her, I fear it might provoke a war between the 2 nations. It was one thing for Su Yingxue to die, but Chu Yihan was not someone to be trifled with. His reputation as the god of war of the 9 provinces was known to all. But the Empress Dowager was exceptionally resolute. The men of the Great Wei dynasty are brave and skilled in battle. Why would we be afraid of Chu Yihan? Come, make your move. There, Su Yingxue, gripped by the executioner, continued to struggle, unable to make a sound. The executioner sprayed white liquor on the blade, raised his hand, and the blade fell. Poochie, blood splattered everywhere. Su Yingxue's head severed from her body, her brain exploding outwards. Mu Fei was also in the Funning Palace, witnessing this scene with his own eyes. At the moment of Su Yingxue's death, the blood splashed onto his face, and his heart was exceptionally pleased. He couldn't help but burst out laughing loudly. Ha ha, ha 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 ha, ha 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 ha. His laughter was so loud that it drew everyone's attention. Shun Yu, finding Mu Fei's behavior strange, scolded him. What are you laughing at? In front of the imperial grandmother, you shall not be unrestrained. She thought to herself, what madness had Mu Fei succumbed to this time? She knew he was not normal, but she hadn't expected him to be this abnormal. Even if he was happy about Su Yingxue's death, he should be quietly pleased, not laughing out loud before everyone. Especially since the Empress Dowager's narrowed eyes were now fixed on him. Mu Fei, you lowly commoner, dare to be so impudent in front of me. Mu Fei wiped away the tears of laughter from his eyes and looked at the Empress Dowager with a mocking stature. Why shouldn't I dare be impudent? You old coot, I've long wanted to laugh at you. Now, I can do so openly and honorably. Impudence! Someone capture him for me. Qin Ji bellowed, bold ruffian, my mother holds such a revered status. How dare you insult her so? Revered? Just an old hag who killed her own granddaughter. What is there to revere? Is it because she's going blind or perhaps she's lost her brain? Mu Fei brandished his fan arrogantly, his delicate face growing increasingly inscrutable and bewitching. Mu Fei, you must stop speaking nonsense. Shun Yu was startled by Mu Fei. Had he gone mad? How could he say such things in public? This was outright exposing her true identity. The one who died is not Su Yingshu Elise. Mu Fei didn't take Shun Yu seriously at all. He approached the Empress Dowager, his expression gloomy, the smile on his lips wicked. Old hag, do you realize that the person you killed was actually your real granddaughter? What are you talking about? Qin Je's heart suddenly skipped a beat. Mother's granddaughter is clearly Jiaoer. How could it be Su Yingxue? After mulling over the events of the past few days and being reminded by Mu Fei, Qin Ji felt a chill down her spine. Has the eldest princess forgotten my voice already? The blood they swapped. Mu Fei deliberately lowered his voice, which rang out like a bell in Qin Je's mind. Her eyes suddenly widened. It's you. Mu Fei. The voice I heard that day, it was yours. Was it you who made me switch their blood? That is to say, Su Yingxue was actually her sister's daughter. This Zhao Hua is fake. And her. Had she become an accomplice to Mu Fei and Zhao Hua? She helped them. And killed Su Yingxue? No. Qin Ji was so frightened by this realization that her legs trembled. If this was true, how could she face her sister? Mother, this Mu Fei must be mad. Qin Ji was somewhat panicked and wanted to have Mu Fei dragged away. However, the Empress Dowager's eyes narrowed slightly as she stared at Mu Fei. Continue. I want to see what else you have to say. The calmness of the Empress Dowager at this moment was beyond Mu Fei's expectations, but as he looked at the corpse on the ground, he was fearless. Considering that it would break your old heart and you'd die from sorrow, I don't mind telling you, it was I who used drugs to make the eldest princess have hallucinations. She personally switched the blood of Su Yingxue and Shun Yu, leading to that misunderstood scene. The truth spoken by Mu Fei shattered Qin Je's heart. She bitterly bit her teeth, filled with regret. Sister, I am sorry. She had actually done such a thing, caused such a huge misunderstanding, and killed Su Yingxue. So this Jiaoer by my side is fake, and Su Yingxue is the real one? The Empress Dowager's breathing hastened slightly as she grabbed Shun Yu's hand, facing Mu Fei. Shun Yu panicked. Imperial grandmother, don't believe his slanderous words. This Mu Fei, he's a lunatic. He's a man from the ghost market. How can his words be trusted? Shun Yu knelt in front of the Empress Dowager, crying pitifully and miserably. Jiaoer is your true granddaughter. Hasn't my mother often come to you in dreams recently, asking you to take good care of me, to not let me suffer anymore? The Empress Dowager looked down at her. Those eyes which were once kind now emanated an unprecedented oppression. Young girl, I have never dreamed of your mother. Never dreamed of her. How could that be? You miss your daughter so much. You must have dreamed of my mother. Shun Yu shook her head in panic and disbelief. Was she deceived by this old woman, the Empress Dowager? Mu Fei's eyes narrowed slightly, sensing something was amiss from the Empress Dowager's reaction. He stepped back, grabbed the head lying on the ground that had been chopped off, and forcefully pulled off the black cloth to reveal the face of an unfamiliar woman. This isn't Su Yingxue. Mu Fei's beautiful eyebrows furrowed tightly. You old witch, you had a premeditated plan? It wasn't Su Yingxue who died. He had been tricked. What? Su Yingxue is not dead. How can this be? Shun Yu's eyes widened as she crawled towards Mu Fei and snatched the head he was holding to take a closer look. Mu Fei escapes lease. You old hag. Mu Fei gritted his teeth, never expecting the Empress Dowager to be of such an advanced age and ill to boot, yet still possess such meticulous cunning. It was truly detestable. How dare you be so insolent? Qin Muyan, knife pointed at Mu Fei, said, you claim to be of the great Wei dynasty, but who are you really to dare to oppose the imperial family, deceive my imperial grandmother, and plot against my cousin. Ha! Mu Fei scoffed, his eyes brimming with contempt. Qin Ji came back to her senses at his laugh. It was you who used me, you almost made me kill my sister's daughter. Thinking back on it made Qin Je's heart tremble uncontrollably. Looking at Su Yingxue, who was alive before her, she couldn't help but shed tears. I'm sorry, Auntie almost caused your death. Auntie, you needn't blame yourself, you too were deeply harmed by them. The ones who harm others are these people with wicked heart. Having said that, Su Yingxue drew her red jade soft whip and attacked Mu Fei. Mu Fei swiftly dodged, exhibiting exceptional lightness skill. Qin Muyan, from behind him, struck out, the blade whooshed through the air and, with a loud slash, opened a gash across Mu Fei's back. Damn it! Mu Fei glared at the two of them, his eyes bloodshot. Now he couldn't kill Su Yingxue, but his vengeance must be exacted. He risked the danger of encountering Qin Muyan's blade and attacked the Empress Dowager. A white powder flew from his sleeves, spreading towards the Empress Dowager like a fog. Grandmother, hold your breath. Don't inhale. Su Yingxue shouted loudly, but it was already too late. The Empress Dowager inhaled a large amount of the white powder, and even Qin Ji inhaled quite a bit. Both of them collapsed to the ground and passed out. Imperial Grandmother, Mother. Qin Muyan quickly ran to their side and helped them up. He did not forget to instruct the palace guards behind him. Someone come, capture this traitor, don't let him escape. Having bought some time by engaging Su Yingxue and Qin Muyan, Mu Fei quickly left the imperial palace and returned to the dilapidated Mu family estate. This place was originally his home, but it had been destroyed after the family was raided. Ah Jing, carrying a tray of freshly baked pastries, saw Mu Fei return and excitedly held them up to him. Master, I made these today, they should taste better than yesterday's. Please try them, Master. Put them down, and come with me. Mu Fei grasped Ah Jing's hand tightly, his eyes deep in thought as if pondering something. A fleeting look of guilt crossed Ah Jing's face. Had the master noticed something? She had secretly added something to the pastries. Put them down quickly. He ran away, Lise. Now, even if he wanted to show affection for Su Yingxue, he felt it was too late. Yes, Mother. You kept this from me too. You have no idea. I thought Yingxue was harmed by my hand. I nearly died of shame, wanting to take my own life to see my sister. If she knew from the underworld that Yingxue nearly suffered due to my misunderstanding, how could I face being her sister? Qin Ji also expressed some complaints. The Empress Dowager heaved a sigh, and Su Yingxue quickly comforted her. Cousin and auntie, if you want to blame someone, blame me. It was my idea. When grandmother came to see me, she already knew my identity. I asked her not to tell. The purpose was to see what Mu Fei was truly after. He is truly too strange. Qin Muyan added, yes, Mu Fei is a man of the ghost market, yet has profoundly knowledgeable about the affairs of the Great Wei dynasty. There weren't many privy to the inside story of little auntie's disappearance back then, and his knowledge about Yingxue's identity and finding the blue scale jade has no simple character. I intended to read the Great Wei dynasty of this cancer, so I had no choice but to keep it a secret from mother and imperial brother for a time, and ask the imperial grandmother to act in a play with us. You too. You and Yingxue, you really do make a good team. Your knees must be swollen from all the kneeling. Qin Ji teased Qin Muyan, causing Su Yingxue to notice his legs. To lure Shen Yu and Mu Fei into his trap, Qin Muyan truly knelt outside Funning Palace for 2 days and nights without food or water. It was only because he had practiced martial arts from a young age and had a strong physical foundation that he felt all right. Seeing Qin Muyan's complexion was still somewhat pale, Su Yingxue gave him a pill. I made this, it's a medicine that benefits qi and enriches blood. Cousin, please take it first. Her address of cousin stirred something deep within Qin Muyan's heart. His handsome brows and eyes relaxed slightly. Okay. He took it without hesitation, as if even if Su Yingxue's offering had been poison, he would have consumed it like candy. Su Yingxue also took out several precious vials of golden-wound medicine and handed them to Nurse Fu, instructing her to apply it to Qin Muyan's legs. Seeing her so courteous, Qin Ji couldn't help but cover her mouth and giggle lightly. Now that you have recognized kinship, Ingxue, you need not be so formal. Mu Yang is your cousin. Even if you were to apply the medicine to him yourself, he wouldn't resist. Qin Muyan's ears reddened, and he put on a stern face. Mother, do not spout nonsense. Mother is simply stating the truth. Qin Ji smiled slightly. Even Qin Ruli laughed heartily. Auntie is definitely not wrong. You and your cousin were originally betrothed. Cousin, auntie, I'm sorry. This marriage contract, I'm afraid I cannot fulfill. I am already wed to the 9th prince. My husband is Chu Yihan, so, cousin can only be cousin, Su Ingxue said gently, yet her message was clear. She could be Qin Muyan's kin, but she could not be his wife. With her words, Qin Ruli and Qin Ji found themselves in a somewhat awkward position, and Qin Muyan's expression also subtly darkened. He mocked himself internally. Indeed, no matter the circumstances, her heart held only her husband, her Chu Yihan. All right, let's focus on the serious matters for now. Has that Mu Fei been caught? Has Shun Yu been interrogated? Just how did she collude with Mu Fei? I must get to the bottom of this. From the bed, the heavy and aged voice of the Empress Dowager urged them. Qin Ruli immediately ordered someone to report on the efforts to capture Mu Fei. Wei Juefeng returned in a rush, kneeling on one knee, reporting to the Emperor and Your Highness, Mu Fei. He has a secret passage, and he escape. The master won't harm me, Lise. Chu Yihan pulled her back. Be careful of deceit. He and this female slave have something strange going on. Chu Yihan slightly furrowed his brows. Throughout the journey earlier, Mu Fei had been protectively guarding this female slave, and now he brought up Su Ingxue, as if he were waiting for her arrival. He couldn't allow Su Ingxue to come any closer. Your Highness, our Jing is someone who has shared life and death with me. She's still young and a simple-minded child at heart, Su Ingxue pleaded with her lips tightened, her concern evident. If it weren't for being sold to the ghost market and falling into Mu Fei's hands, how could she have become a female slave? She should be living like any other normal girl. Chu Yihan shook his head. This female slave is Mu Fei's bargaining chip, has waiting for you. Chu Yihan informed Su Ingxue, who clenched her teeth in force. Mu Fei, you insidious villain, you had planned this all along, didn't you? You intended to use our Jing, right? Of course. Why else would I sell this slave for no reason, keeping her by my side the entire time? Su Ingxue, you are a person of deep emotions and loyalty. A young girl who has shared life and death with you and is obedient, you wouldn't bear to let her just die like this, would you? Mu Fei's eyes sparked a cold, sly smile as he concealed the schemes deep in his gaze. No, not like this. Our Jing's neck was almost being crushed as she shook her head in tears. She couldn't believe her master would use her. He wouldn't. The master had always been so kind to her. He was kind to her. Ah Jing, don't be afraid, I will save you. Su Ingxue spoke to comfort her, then glared at Mu Fei. You think you can use Ah Jing to escape? Do you think you could get away? Chu Yihan's shadow guards had heavily surrounded the area, and countless imperial guards of Qin Ruli were guarding outside Ingju. Even if Mu Fei grew wings, he would not be able to fly back to the ghost market. You only have two choices. Let this young girl accompany me in death, or let me go. Otherwise, Mu Fei laughed menacingly, increasing the strength in his hand as he lifted Ah Jing off the ground by her neck. Master. Ah Jing's little face twisted in pain as she let out a pitiful whimper, begging Mu Fei for mercy. A flicker of reluctance passed through Mu Fei's eyes, but his hands persisted in tightening their grip. Don't. Su Ingxue gritted her teeth in anger. Fine, I'll let you go, but you must release Ah Jing. Let go of her now. Su Ingxue turned and grabbed Chu Yihan's hand, a hint of urgency in her gaze. Saving Ah Jing is what matters most. Capturing Mu Fei was not a difficult task. Qin Ruli's reach didn't extend to the ghost market, but she and Chu Yihan could upend the ghost market and drag Mu Fei out if needed. Chu Yihan nodded in agreement. All right. Her requests, he would never refuse. Mu Fei, let Ah Jing go. Su Ingxue yelled at him. Mu Fei quietly breathed a sigh of relief, his eyes holding an apology, then raised his hand and threw Ah Jing out. If Su Yingxue hadn't caught Ah Jing, the girl would have smashed into the rocks and undoubtedly shattered to pieces. But Mu Fei had carefully controlled the force in his hands, only turning to flee after seeing Su Yingxue catch Ah Jing. Chu Yihan waved his hand to give the order, "Chase." "Yes, Your Highness." Mo Qi led a group of shadow guards and swiftly pursued. In the night, Su Yingxue held Ah Jing, seeing her neck bruised and purplish from Mu Fei's strangling, she spat out in disdain, "Scum. Not even sparing you." Ah Jing's lips quivered, unable to speak, but in her heart, she knew, master would not harm me. Her master was the kindest person in the whole world to her. Su Yingxue and Chu Yihan together took the people back. The godlike grandson-in-law Lise, Nanny Fu brought over 2 goose feather pillows, which Su Yingxue used to prop up the imperial grandmother. Seeing her so diligent and busy, the imperial grandmother's eyes filled with even more affection. "My precious granddaughter, you truly are wonderful." Su Yingxue nestled in her lap and acted like a spoiled child. "Grandma tilde, my dear heart." The imperial grandmother gently patted her head and, noticing Chu Yihan standing not far away, smiled and waved him over. "Grandson-in-law, come here and let this old woman take a good look at you." The title of grandson-in-law brought a noticeable ease to Chu Yihan's expression. He approached the imperial grandmother and bowed slightly. "Greetings, imperial grandmother. Are Tilda such a good child? I must take a good look, my celestial grandson-in-law, what a wonderful person you are." The imperial grandmother had Nanny Fu bring over a frame with 2 lenses attached, which had 2 small claws at the back to hook over the ears, positioning the lenses directly in front of her eyes. Her blurry vision instantly became clear. Before her stood an astonishingly handsome man whose features seemed meticulously crafted by the heavens themselves, exuding an aura of someone destined to rule the world. His dark eyes were like glaze, cool and profound, sparking curiosity in others to delve into their profound depths. Standing tall, he was a cut above other men. The imperial grandmother thought to herself that in all of the great Wei dynasty, only Qin Muyan could compare to Chu Yihan, but Chu Yihan possessed a temperament distinct from the impulsive and stubborn Qin Muyan. Having carefully observed Chu Yihan, the imperial grandmother had only one thought: this man should reign over the 4 seas, unite the world under his rule. He was, without a doubt, an emperor. Her beloved granddaughter had married such a rare man, and she was extremely satisfied, her smile warm and kindly. "Good, what a good child." She extended her hand toward Chu Yihan. Seeing her hands tremble, Chu Yihan quickly supported them. "Imperial grandmother, be careful. Considerate and meticulous, excellent." With one hand holding Chu Yihan's and the other Su Yingxue's, the imperial grandmother, her eyes crinkled with wrinkles, was brimming with satisfaction. "All these years of worry were not in vain, you two are doing quite well." Chu Yihan and Su Yingxue stayed by the imperial grandmother's side as she inquired about Qin Zheng, also known as Long Shuli. Leaning against the couch, she looked wistful. After Zheng left Great Wei, she changed her name to Long Shuli. Su Yingxue nodded. "Yes, Grandma, mother is the genius doctor of the Great Cheng dynasty, and was also named Princess Shu Li by the former emperor. Her medical skills are unmatched in the world, truly impressive." Su Yingxue painted the glorious life of Long Shuli, and the imperial grandmother listened quietly. She had not expected her Zheng to be so remarkable. Just listening brought tears to her eyes. "But why hasn't she ever returned to Great Wei to see me? Does she know how I've cried my heart out for her?" The former emperor had died early, and she doted on this youngest daughter as if she were her heart and treasure. Yet who would have thought, during that year's reunion, when the imperial guard failed to protect her, she was taken captive, and then disappeared all these years. Su Yingxue looked on as the imperial grandmother wept, feeling heartache yet daring not to tell her at this moment that when Qin Zheng was taken by Wu Dao, she had already been killed, and Long Shuli was not Qin Zheng. As she hesitated, Chu Yihan spoke clearly. "My mother-in-law lost her memory after she was taken away. She had forgotten her hometown and relatives. If not for a twist of fate, Yingxue would have found it very difficult to return to Great Wei, but fortunately, all ended well." charging at her in front of Grandma Lise. Your Highness never resented her, she can sleep in as long as she wishes. Chu Yihan shared a smile with the Empress Dowager while sipping tea, leaving the palace maids of Funning Palace utterly bewitched. In this world, how could there be such a breathtakingly handsome man? Standing at the door and witnessing this scene, Su Yingxue instantly ran to the Empress Dowager's side to act charmingly. Grandmother, it's not that I deliberately indulged in sleep, it's all your Highness' fault. Su Yingxue shot Chu Yihan a glare. Who was the one toying around all night? Could you really blame her for sleeping so soundly? The Empress Dowager tapped her little granddaughter fondly, her eyes showing nothing but indulgence. You, just like your mother, are a bit mischievous. Yihan has been so lenient toward you, even my cousin's Empress has never slept until the midday meal as you do, and he adores her immensely. The Empress is the mother to a nation, of course, she needs to take on more hardships. But I don't have to. As Su Yingxue spoke, the sight of a table full of her favorite dishes had her ready to dive in. However, she still glanced at the Empress Dowager, who smiled and picked up a chopstick full of food for her. Here, have some, my dearest. All these dishes were selected by Yihan himself. He cares deeply about everything that concerns you, I can't find a single fault in that. Back when the Empress Dowager considered Shen Yu as her granddaughter, she constantly worried about not being able to find a good family that would serve her with minute and thoughtful attention at all times. Later, when she began to pay attention to her marriage with Qin Muyan, she fretted somewhat. Qin Muyan was an unrestrained man, and when it came to attending to women, he hardly had much care. It wasn't until now, with Su Yingxue being recognized, and seeing how well Chu Yihan treated her, that she could finally be at ease. In this world, there was no second man who could be as good to Su Yingxue as Chu Yihan was. Even when it came to Qin Muyan, with her understanding of him as his imperial grandmother, he probably could not match Yihan's attentiveness. Empress Dowager, that Shen Yu has been clamoring to see you, the Empress Dowager's trustworthy nanny whispered at her side. The Empress Dowager's expression darkened slightly as she set down her chopsticks, sighing softly. Ah, this child, grandmother, Shen Yu has a wicked heart and isn't he worth your pity? You needn't trouble yourself over her anymore, leave the handling of this matter to me, Su Yingxue volunteered. But, after all, she has served me for days on end, and since her return to the Great Way several months ago, every time she enjoyed my company at my knees, I felt she was still a dutiful child, even though she did what she did to you in order to retain her status. In the Empress Dowager's eyes, there was still a hint of reluctance. Grandmother, do you still remember her birth parents? Her parents? I'm not sure why they left the palace, and I didn't inquire much about them, the Empress Dowager replied. At the time, she was only concerned with having Mu Fei look after Shen Yu. Now that she thought about it, those two must have been taken away by Mu Fei. Su Yingxue remarked, it's likely they've already met with misfortune. Mu Fei is a ruthless person, he wouldn't have left them be. Shen Yu, who would even betray her own birth parents, doesn't deserve your kindness. In her heart, the Empress Dowager still harbored a sliver of hope for Shen Yu. This lasted until Qin Muyan came to Funning Palace looking for Su Yingxue. Qin Muyan paid his respects to the Empress Dowager and also notified Qin Ruli to hurry over. Seeing their tense expressions, the Empress Dowager asked, My dear Mu Yang, what has happened? Have you caught that Mu Fei yet? I must thoroughly question him. Catching Mu Fei Lise. It's not that, Mu Fei is being pursued by people from the Ninth Prince, and it seems he won't escape. Grandson has come to report to you another matter, which is about Mu Fei's background. Qin Muyan said in a low voice. Oh, who exactly is Mu Fei, and what grudge does he have with the Great Wei dynasty that he must put Yingxue in a deadly situation? Qin Ruli's brows were knitted with rage. Qin Muyan solemnly said, he is the successor to the Imperial Guard Commander, originally the young master of the Mu family. The Imperial Guard Commander? Mu Rufeng. The Empress Dowager's expression instantly became lucid. An incident from over 20 years ago surfaced in her mind, and she muttered, that year, the Imperial Guard lost Jing and in my rage, I ordered the execution of the entire Mu family, including the Imperial Guard Commander Mu Rufeng. That Mu Fei, So that's it. Grandmother ordered the extermination of the entire Mu family back then. Mu Fei escaped and ended up in the ghost market. That's why he wants to target me and grandmother, to have grandmother kill me by her own hand as revenge. The pieces fell into place in Su Yingxu's mind. Bang! Qin Ruli slammed his fist on the table, full of fury. Damnable. The loss of our young aunt was originally due to the negligence of the Imperial Guard commander. Having narrowly escaped death, he still dares to seek perverse revenge. I will have Mu Fei torn apart by 5 horses to set an example. Qin Muyan also said in a cold voice, Mu Fei truly deserves death. If Imperial Grandmother or Yingxue suffer the slightest harm, Your Highness will ensure he never recovers. We'll talk about that after He's court. Compared to the indignation of the Qin Muyan brothers, Chu Yihan was exceptionally calm. He picked up the teacup in his hand, took a sip, and remarked, he should be back soon. Master, Mu Fei has been captured. When Mo Chi came to report at Funning Palace and knelt down, he said, Mu Fei did not make it back to the ghost market before being intercepted by Pavilion Master's men. Your subordinate succeeded in capturing him. Chu Yihan nodded and turned to Su Yingxue. This person, I'll leave his fate to you. Before Su Yingxue could speak, Qin Muyan angrily said, leave him to your highness. After I torture him to death, I'll crush his bones and scatter his ashes. Wait, your highness, please hand him over to me. I want to see him. There are some questions I'd like to ask. Su Yingxue persuaded. Qin Muyan, who was normally fierce and impetuous in all things, became inexplicably gentle in response to Su Yingxue's request. All right, he's yours. After Su Yingxue nodded her thanks, she returned to Chu Yihan's side. Chu Yihan took her to the old Mu residence. The answers you're looking for might be found here. Su Yingxue smiled, hubby knows me best. With nobody around, Su Yingxue felt at ease calling him hubby. The old Mu residence had suffered a great calamity years ago and was in ruins, a testament to the grim past. The Imperial Guard was the royal family's defense, and back then, the Mu family was a noble family. They were executed for losing the young princess, and Mu Fei was innocent in that regard. However, this could not justify his becoming so ruthless and vicious later on. Su Yingxue found several rooms that had been lived in, some traces of being tidied up, and one room that should have been Mu Fei's bedroom. Mo Chi was still in this bedroom and had found several dresses that belonged to girls, which he found quite distasteful. This man's tastes really are strange. He looks like a woman and even wears women's dresses. Su Yingxue was grossed out by seeing these dresses as well. Only Chu Yihan glanced at the dresses and said indifferently, these are not Mu Fei's. Then whose are they? Su Yingxue asked with a puzzled face, could it be that there is someone else as twisted as him around Mu Fei? The human swine of Shen's father and mother Lise, you forgot about that young girl by his side. Chu Yihan poked Su Yingxue's forehead. Ah Jing. Su Yingxue remembered and cursed Mu Fei again. Ah Jing is pure-hearted, yet Mu Fei exploited her to use as leverage to threaten me into escaping, utterly despicable. Chu Yihan didn't quite see it that way, but he hadn't settled on a conclusion. When they found the place where the firewood was kept, Mo Chi went in first to take a look, then came out and said, it's quite disgusting inside, princess, perhaps you should not go in. He almost threw up. Is it full of human pigs? Princess is as insightful as a deity. Mo Chi was somewhat impressed. The strong smell of alcohol inside led him to think there might be a cellar hidden within, but who would have known that once inside, he would see a series of wine jars, each containing a paralyzed person, all blinded and deafened, steeping alive in medicinal liquor. They could hardly be called human anymore. In that room of human pigs, Su Yingxue identified 2 familiar faces. She pointed and said, take these 2 back to the palace and present them to Shen Yu. Mo Chi did as she instructed. In the end, Su Yingxue went to the imperial prison to see Mu Fei. This place was as secure as a fortress of copper walls and iron barriers, and Su Yingxue was not worried he could escape. With Chu Yihan's shadow guards watching outside, even with Mu Fei's high martial arts skills, escape was impossible. But when Su Yingxue arrived, Mu Fei looked at her with scorn, as though he had been waiting for her. You come at this hour, you've seen Shen Yu's parents already, and moved them back to the palace, right? Mu Fei's sneer was chilling, his voice sinister like a demon from hell. He was covered in heavy shackles but appeared utterly fearless. Su Yingxue sat before him, her expression calm. Because the imperial grandmother killed your entire family, you endured in the ghost market all these years, just to plan your next moves, to either kill the imperial grandmother or have her kill me. Yes. Mu Fei scoffed coldly, too bad you are really too troublesome, otherwise, that old woman would now be among those in the wine jar, and I would peel a piece of her flesh every single day, cutting for 365 days, making her life worse than death. Such pain would avenge the death of his whole family. No. Even that is not enough. The imperial family of the great Wei dynasty must die. They must all die, to join my Mu family, to join my parents and siblings in a mass grave. Mu Fei leaned against the wall, laughing maniacally, his eyes, once handsome, now bloodshot and wild. The imperial guard failed in their duty, grandmother became furious, perhaps she went too far, but you, having narrowly escaped death, should have lived properly, to continue the bloodline of your Mu family. But what have you become? How many times has your face been cut? Su Yingxue's brows furrowed, her lips curling into a mocking smile. Live well? Mu Fei laughed as if he heard the funniest joke. Ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha. Live well? How does a slave live well in that sunless place of the ghost market? He pointed to his own face, his sharp fingernails digging into the flesh, drawing a deep wound. As if feeling no pain, he was lost in his memories. Indeed, my face has been cut by many knives, so many that I've lost count. Because that woman disliked my original appearance, only by changing to suit her preferences could I earn her favor, could I survive. Those years, my face was continuously under the knife, many times I almost went blind, mad. But I dared not die. I feared that if I died, when I met my parents below, they would scold me for being so useless. Even vengeance for them, I could not achieve. Beg me 5 lis. Have you been so free recently? Have you already finished your work? Bei Minghan glared at him angrily. Huang Fuyi immediately shook his head. No, I will go and complete it immediately. Huang Fuyi really didn't know what happened with his elder brother. He wasn't annoyed just now when he was rambling, but why does his mood change now when he speaks about Qiao Sai and his first love's reunion? Did he get into trouble again? Arguing with Qingshan? Huang Fuyi stood up to leave. He was sure, if he didn't leave, he would eventually get trashed by his elder brother. Stop. Bei Minghan halted him. Huang Fuyi was about to open the office door, but once his elder brother had given orders, he could only obey. He turned around, forcing a smile, asked, Older brother, any other order? Join me for a drink. Bei Minghan stood up, took his coat and headed out. Should we call second brother too? Knowing that something had happened, Hua Gufuyi obliged, as drinking during the day was definitely not his elder brother's style, it was more like his own. He did not dare to resist and quickly ran to catch up. After having dinner by herself, Jiyu Qingshan returned to her small bedroom. She felt a slight pain in her abdomen, pulled out a bottle of medicine from her bag, poured out a pill from it and swallowed it. Placing the medicine bottle back into her bag, she changed into her pajamas and went to take a bath. Warm water cascaded down over her head. She closed her eyes, enjoying the warmth of the water. The door was suddenly flung open and before Jiyu Qingshan could open her eyes, she was pressed against the cold tiles. Opening her eyes, she saw Bei Minghan's eyes, as black as a wolf's. And reeking of alcohol, again. The water dripping from above soaked his hair, running down his adamant face, and dripped off his chin, as he pinned her against the wall. Jiyu Qingshan quickly bit her lip and looked away. Bei Minghan grabbed her chin, forcing her to look up. His lips, reeking of alcohol, came crashing down on hers. Jiyu Qingshan angrily pushed him away, but he only kissed her more forcefully. Bei Minghan pressed her tightly against the cold tiles and claimed her. From the bathroom to the bedroom, Jiyu Qingshan didn't know how many times he took her. Although he wasn't as brutal as last night, she still felt exhausted. Bei Minghan placed her on the bed, leaned down and kissed the tattoo on her lower abdomen. Jiyu Qingshan lay there, gasping. It seemed as if he was doing it on purpose, imprinting every inch of her body with his mark. The next day, Jiyu Qingshan was going to school when the bodyguard stopped her, saying that from today onward, she was forbidden to leave North Garden under the young master's orders. Jiyu Qingshan thought she had heard wrong. Was this Beiming Han's intention to imprison her again? She took out her phone and dialed Beiming Han's number, but the one who answered was Lian Qingruo. I need to speak to Beiming Han, it's urgent. Jiyu Qingshan held the phone tightly, the anger inside her causing her chest to rise and fall rapidly. Miss Jiyu, the CEO is in a meeting right now and can't be disturbed. Why don't you call him back after the meeting? Jiyu Qingshan, I'm allowed to go to the Shengming Corporation at least, right? Jiyu Qingshan, annoyed, looked at the bodyguards beside her. Both of them exchanged glances, but none dared to decide. One of them took out his phone to call Yi Qi, asking for instructions. Shun Yu personally killed his parents' lease. I was just returning to the palace and was about to see her. Su Yingshu's expression was cold and solemn. Shun Yu had been left in the dungeon of Funning Palace, and because her grandmother had a soft heart and didn't immediately kill Shun Yu, she was still struggling to survive. When Su Yingxue went down, she smelled a strong scent of medicinal liquor in the air. Shun Yu, curled up in a corner, started wailing at the sound of footsteps. Don't come over. Don't come over. Don't come to claim my life. Go find Mu Fei. It was that madman Mu Fei who killed them all. It was him who killed them. Was it him who killed them, or did you disregard the life and death of your own parents, using their lives in exchange for your glory and wealth? Su Yingxue raised an eyebrow and sneered. Su Yingxue? Hate flared in Shun Yu's eyes. It's all your fault, Su Yingxue. You stole my identity, my cousin, and my glory and wealth. I'm going to kill you. She screamed maniacally and lunged at Su Yingxue, but before she could touch her, she was whipped by Su Yingxue's red jade soft whip and sent rolling on the ground. Smack. The sound of the whip striking flesh was exceptionally crisp and loud. Ah. It hurts. It hurts so much. Shun Yu writhed in agony on the ground, rolling toward the wine jars and knocking over two of them. Decomposing bodies fell out, and the half that was still emitting heat made woeful sounds beside Shun Yu. Even though they couldn't form a word, their sounds seemed so full of suffering that it was heartbreaking to hear. Shun Yu, on the brink of collapse, cried out and kicked her father's and mother's bodies away. She covered her ears. I can't hear. It's not you. It's not you. It was Mu Fei. Ah. It was Mu Fei who turned her parents into this. Why? Why didn't that madman Mu Fei just kill them outright, instead of leaving them in this world in such a state? Why torture her like this? Why torment her so? Die. Just die. Shun Yu stepped on one of the corpses, trampling it desperately, mashing that half of the body into a bloody pulp. The other half, as if crying, emitted even more mournful sounds. Shenvu trembled with fear as she then crushed the other half of the body, silencing the bizarre noises from them. Only then did she feel slightly calmed down. She collapsed to the floor, her eyes hollow and lifeless. They're all dead, finally all dead. All dead. No one would hold her back anymore. She could be her princess peacefully, and enjoy her glories and wealth. Shun Yu quickly crawled toward Su Yingxue, kneeling before her and kowtowing incessantly. I'm sorry, Su Yingxue. I shouldn't have harmed you. I shouldn't have impersonated you. But the imperial grandmother had feelings for me. I served her in your stead for months, and she cherished me so much. If you kill me, it'll break her heart. She'll be so distressed she won't be able to sleep. She's your kin. Can you bear to see her become like this? What do you want? Su Yingxue asked with a mocking curl of her lip. Anyway, you're already the 9th princess consort, able to do as you please in the Great Cheng dynasty, so you wouldn't care about this princess position in the Great Wei dynasty. Just give it to me. Let me be the princess of Great Wei. I'll take care of the imperial grandmother for you. I'll fulfill the marriage vows, marry cousin Mu Yang for you. You can't be by their side to show filial piety, but I can I can do everything for you. The death of Shun Yu Lise, she pleaded urgently, pointing to the side where her parents, crushed to death by her own hands, lay. Look. They are all dead. The father and mother who bore me are dead. No one will know my true identity. As long as you go and tell the imperial grandmother that you made me take your place as princess, I promise. I will serve her well, and I will treat cousin Mu Yang well. Su Yingxue, I beg you, let me continue being a princess. Let me keep being a princess. I don't want to live in poverty again. I'm scared of being poor. I don't want to live that life anymore. Shun Yu covered her face in pain, begging Su Yingxue in the most abject way possible. She had paid everything for this position of princess. Just look at how pitiful I am, and give me the place of princess. Give it to me. Shun Yu's desperate voice echoed throughout the basement. Su Yingxue remained silent, instead turning to look behind her. Behind the door of the basement, Chu Yihan stood supporting the Empress Dowager. The Empress Dowager's aged face was filled with disappointment. Jiaoer, the imperial grandmother hadn't thought of sparing your life. But how could you be so heartless as to even kill your birth parents? They gave you life and raised you. Even if they led you to live in poverty, they are still your kin, blood of your blood. Imperial grandmother, Shun Yu was frozen on the ground, crawling towards the Empress Dowager on all fours, clutching at her robe. Imperial grandmother, it's not like that. It's not what you think. I didn't mean to kill them. It was because I was too scared. They were turned into human pigs. It was too horrifying. I didn't want to be dragged down by them. I was afraid of having to look after them. Enough. I will not protect you anymore. Yingxue, deal with this person as you see fit. The Empress Dowager withdrew her skirt and turned away in disappointment. Fu Mami helped her leave. Shun Yu continued to scream in the basement, Imperial grandmother, spare me please. Su Yingxue, standing next to Chu Yihan, said coldly, she brought it upon herself. She does not deserve to live. How do you want her to die? Chu Yihan glanced at the 2 jars of medicinal alcohol. Turn her into a human pig, to taste the suffering her parents endured? No need, that would dirty our hands. Su Yingxue surveyed the basement. Let's go, husband. Well, shut the windows, leave her alone down here, so she doesn't disturb the imperial grandmother. Su Yingxue, what are you going to do to me? Save me, and I'll tell you a secret. Mu Fei, he even asked me to poison your imperial grandmother before. Su Yingxue, as the windows and door were sealed, Shun Yu's voice could not escape. Su Yingxue didn't even hear her final plea. All she knew was that in the basement without water or food, and with no airflow, Shun Yu would die of suffocation within a day, just like her birth parents. Killing her own parents, she would stay there to join them in death. It was time to visit Jing. After 2 days of recovery, Jing still had a bruise around her neck, but she was otherwise unharmed. Upon seeing Su Yingxue, she immediately embraced her. Sister Yingxue. It's okay, Jing, no need to worry anymore. You've left Mu Fei, that psychopath. Come back with me to the great Cheng dynasty. I'll give you a new identity and let you start a new life. Su Yingxue stroked her head, just as if she were comforting her own sister. Give him a daughter, Lise. No. I don't want to leave my master. Has been very kind, has been kind to Jing. Sister Yingxue, please don't kill him, will you? Jing knelt on the bed, continually kowtowing and begging Su Yingxue. It's not possible. Chu Yihan's cold voice instantly stunned Jing. Jing's lips were pale and trembling. Ninth prince. If it had been only Su Yingxue, Jing might have pleaded again, but Chu Yihan's firm "it's not possible" completely dispelled her hopes. She collapsed dispiritedly onto the bed. Su Yingxue knew Jing was still young, and she felt empathy for her situation, telling her all about what Mu Fei had done. The telling lasted until the evening. You see, Mu Fei has done so many wrongs. Even though he came from a pitiable background, think about the people who died by his hand, who were hurt by him. Weren't they all pitiable? You were used by him too. Su Yingxue rubbed her head, So please, stop thinking about him, okay? Okay. Jing's voice trembled with frailty. Sister Ingxue, when will Master die? I don't know, but it should be within a few days. The Emperor, my cousin, will execute him. Oh. Jing hung her head, showing a disappointed expression. Stop thinking about him. Rest early. When you come back with me to the great Cheng dynasty, everything will be a new beginning. Okay, thank you, Sister Ingxue. Jing was unusually calm, no longer making a fuss, quietly lying back down on the bed, as obedient as she was in front of Mu Fei. Su Ingxue and Chu Yihan also planned to go back to rest. Seeing that Chu Yihan did not talk much, Su Ingxue gently hooked her fingers on his hand. Hubby Tilda, what are you thinking about? Thinking that my princess is truly generous, even caring for the female slaves who were with Mu Fei. Chu Yihan pinched Su Yingxu's nose. Su Ingxue playfully tried to bite his finger. Kindness is worth protecting. If someone had taught me the same when I was 13 or 14, I wouldn't have been bullied. You were bullied at that time? Chu Yihan frowned slightly, a fierce aura suddenly emanating from him. Don't be like this. The ones who bullied me were just Su Yuro and her daughter, and they are dead. Su Ingxue pretended to be relaxed. In this lifetime, indeed, no one had the chance to bully her. She only pitied her past self. Maybe it's because of all you've experienced recently, you seem to have matured quite a bit. Chu Yihan touched Su Yingxu's face. Su Ingxue stuck out her tongue. I don't want to be old. If anyone is to get older, it should be you. After all, she was still a bright and charming young girl. Her last life had vanished like smoke, but in this life, she wanted to take control of her own destiny. So you really despise the fact that I'm older than you. A coldness flickered in Chu Yihan's eyes, sending a shiver down Su Yingxu's spine. You are old. Chu Yihan was 13 years her senior. Indeed, he was no longer young. As Chu Jinling put it, if the imperial uncle had married earlier, by now he might have a daughter about as old as you, auntie. A storm of darkness swirling in his eyes, Chu Yihan carried Su Ingxue straight back to the palace. Su Ingxue pleaded incessantly, you're not old at all. She truly regretted it and wished he was not so spirited. In the heat of passion, Chu Yihan nibbled her tender earlobe, his voice sensually enticing, give your highness a daughter. One as playful and adorable as her. Live and die with the master lease. Su Ingxue fell into a deep sleep, far from thinking about the matter of having a daughter. In her dreams, she was only considering when she could stand up straight tomorrow. Qin Ruli decided to execute Mu Fei. When Mu Fei was led out through the noon gate, he wore a calm expression, as if the outcome did not surprise him at all. He had deliberately disfigured his face, making it impossible to recognize his original appearance. Qin Muyan oversaw the execution, tossing out a bamboo slip, and the executioner's blade fell swiftly. Mu Fei was rapidly reduced to a corpse. Before his death, the image that flashed through his mind was that of Jing. It was truly a pity he couldn't see her one last time. But the thought of her basking in the sun each day from now on, as charming as it was today, filled him with joy. Young girl, your master can no longer stay with you forever. In Funning Palace. Su Ingxue had planned to check on Jing's health, but upon entering the palace, she found that Jing had already breathed her last. Her lips trembled. How could this have happened? Why? She hastily called for Madame Fu. Madame Fu, seeing Jing's body, was equally astonished. How did this happen? The maid has been well looked after, and her health was fine, without any problems. How could she have died? Su Yingxu's outcry alerted the Empress Dowager. She was speaking with Chu Yihan. Upon hearing the news, Chu Yihan stood up. Your Highness will go and have a look, do not worry. Good, with you by Yingxu's side, this dowager feels somewhat relieved. The Empress Dowager waved her hand, letting Chu Yihan go. When Chu Yihan arrived, Su Ingxue was examining Jing's body. It seemed Jing had been poisoned, a poisonous insect had been found inside her body, and it was this insect that had bitten her to death. However, the insect was also dead. Su Yingxue didn't quite understand these matters with poisonous insects, so Qin Muyan brought the court physician, who presented another dead insect, finally clearing up Su Yingxue's confusion. These are United Heart GU insects, residing inside a person's body. If one of the two insects dies, the other will die immediately. When placed inside two people's bodies, it binds their fates together. Does that mean that with Mu Fei's death, Ah Jing would also die? Su Yingxue's eyes blazed with anger, her teeth clenching in hate. Damned Mu Fei. He even had to drag Ah Jing down with him in death. Su Yingxue wished she could haul Mu Fei's body over for a merciless whipping. It's not necessarily someone's doing on purpose. The United Heart GU requires both individuals to ingest it willingly, and they develop a connection. If there are no feelings between two people, they could not take the GU. The court physician said. Two people with feelings for each other? Su Yingxue suddenly didn't understand. Could it be? Ah Jing liked Mu Fei? Mu Fei might not be indifferent to her either. Chu Yihan's hand rested on Su Yingxue's shoulder. Do you remember the scene when Mu Fei seized the young girl, threatening you? He was waiting for you. Waiting for me? Su Yingxue's mind revisited the scene from that night. Everyone around Mu Fei was dead, leaving only Ah Jing. Then, when he saw her, he grabbed Ah Jing by the neck, claiming he would use her to threaten Su Yingxue. Instantly, it sparked her instinct to protect Ah Jing. Afterwards, Mu Fei liked Ah Jing. At that time, he threatened me by seizing Ah Jing by the neck. Was it just to protect her, to make me spare her? Su Yingxue suddenly realized. How delicately she had fallen into Mu Fei's trap. Did he actually want to use her to protect Ah Jing? But this connected hearts GU, there were still things she didn't understand. If Mu Fei went to such lengths to protect Ah Jing, why would he feed her the connected hearts GU? Perhaps the connected hearts GU wasn't administered by Mu Fei. Maybe she had already anticipated Mu Fei's end. Chu Yihan glanced at the girl lying on the bed, who had closed her eyes, looking extremely peaceful in death. She looked composed, with a trace of a frozen smile on her lips. She didn't seem like someone forced to die, but someone who had been prepared. Did she do it willingly? Su Yingxue sighed deeply. She couldn't understand how someone as mentally twisted and cruel as Mu Fei could have someone willing to die for him. That night, Su Yingxue struggled to sleep for a long time. Wrapped in her clothing, she stood by the window, gazing up at the moonlight outside. The night sky was a deep, dark blue, like an infinite curtain, with the full moon hanging high and no stars to ornament it, making it seem especially lonely. Even though it radiated a gentle glow, it was still alone. Just like some people, who rush through life in solitude. Are you feeling sorry for that young girl? The man's slightly moist voice flowed into her heart like a spring. Su Yingxue glanced sideways, her cheeks puffed. Yes, Ah Jing had no parents and suffered a lot, but her thoughts were pure, truly rare. She was only Mu Fei's female slave. I originally wanted to bring her back to the great Cheng dynasty and provide her with a stable life, yet she followed Mu Fei in death. It really made her feel regretful. Such a clean and pure girl. Her heart was set on Mu Fei. To follow him to hell might not be a bad thing. A doctor can sense a patient's emotions. When you examined Ah Jing's body, did you feel her pain? Chu Yihan gently nudged her with the tip of his nose, his warm breath curling around her ear. Su Yingxue recalled, there's no form of death that isn't painful. Although I've never experienced the agony of being devoured by a GU, it's definitely not easier than cutting one's wrists or biting one's tongue. With it being so difficult, yet she accepted it gladly, does that not prove her happiness? Every sentence from Chu Yihan seemed to perfectly untangle the knots in Su Yingxue's heart. Su Yingxue looked down and smiled. I never knew before that your highness was such a thoughtful person. Although Chu Yihan had great talent and was more suited to be an emperor than Chu Mingyuan, before she married him, she always felt that he lived only in legends, a figure high above everyone else. She had never thought that such a lofty, almost divine person could be so attentive. My attentiveness is reserved for you alone, Chu Yihan said as he gently stroked her cascade of hair, the tenderness in his touch as if he were caressing a child. Really? How thoughtful are you towards me, my husband? Su Yingxue playfully wrapped her arms around Chu Yihan's waist, stood on her tiptoes, and with slightly squinted eyes, she sized up Chu Yihan, like a little fox sharpening its claws, up to something. Chu Yihan couldn't be unaware of what the little fox was after. He pinched her fox-like paws, recollecting slowly, word by word. You stopped wetting the bed at 5, became picky with food at 6, loved sweets at 7, made a fuss outside the Marquise Manor at 8, at 9, Chu Yihan recounted one by one the minute details of Su Yingxu's life, remembering them all crisply, even including her moods and temper at specific times, as though he had personally witnessed every single scene. Farewell lease. Su Yingxue, after listening, was shocked for a long time. She didn't ask Chu Yihan why he cared so much. Because at last, Chu Yihan said, never underestimate a young man who has someone in his heart. He will carefully accompany his young girl as she grows, secure for her a realm of thousands of miles, and hold her up to be the moonlight cherished by thousands. The moon shone so purely, its silver light casting beauty across the land, so breathtaking that one could hardly sleep, only wishing to be its companion for life. Su Yingxue and Chu Yihan stayed in Great Wei for a month until Chu Yihan received a secret report and took Su Yingxue to bid farewell to the Empress Dowager. The Empress Dowager's eyes reddened with reluctance. Are you leaving already? Can't you stay a little longer? I still want to talk more with Yingxue. She had missed Zheng for more than 20 years, and these 2 months had been her happiest in many years. Seeing Su Yingxue was like seeing her own daughter. Su Yingxue's departure felt as if her heart was being torn out. Chu Yihan explained dispassionately, the Great Cheng border is plagued with conflict, old General Su has come to consult, and I must return to the court to stabilize the war situation. I cannot stay any longer. I hope the imperial grandmother will understand. The urgency of war affairs left no room for other considerations. The Empress Dowager sighed and wept. Well, the war is indeed urgent. You both should go back first. It need not upset mother so much, if your highness is willing. Leave Yingxue in Yingju, and after your highness has settled the border conflicts, you could then take Yingxue back. After all, Yingxue is a girl and surely she won't be required to fight in the battle, right? Qin Ji couldn't bear to see the Empress Dowager's sorrow and thus advised. Your highness is not reassured. Chu Yihan outright rejected Qin Ji's suggestion. Qin Ji was somewhat embarrassed. Chu Yihan had always been respectful to her and the Empress Dowager. His sudden refusal was unexpected. Su Yingxue turned her eyes and glanced at Chu Yihan, thinking to herself, what's there to be worried about? You're mischievous by nature and cannot stay still in the palace. What if you got lost in Great Wei? Chu Yihan cast a cool glance her way. I'm old enough. How could I possibly get lost? Su Yingxue found the reason laughable. If your highness says you'll get lost, then you'll get lost. I won't, Su Yingxue pouted. Listening on the side, Qin Ji laughed. How could Yingxue possibly get lost? Even if she wanted to, the imperial guards of the palace and the imperial guards of Yingju would protect her. Besides, she also has her 2 cousins, Yu Lai and Mu Yang. Yingxue in Great Wei is the most honored little princess. Who would dare to harm her, having the heart of a bear and the guts of a leopard? She is already your highness' wife, and it wouldn't be right to trouble others with her. Chu Yihan appeared polite on the surface, but his tone had already turned cold, sending a shiver down one's spine. Qin Ji couldn't figure out which of her words had offended Chu Yihan. However, the Empress Dowager understood clearly, it's fine. Yingxue will be with her husband, and I have nothing to worry about. After you've packed, I'll see you off. Thank you, Imperial Grandmother. Chu Yihan and Su Yingxue bowed in unison and then went back. Qin Ji stayed with the Empress Dowager, puzzled. Mother, do you really bear to let Yingxue leave? The 9th prince is going back to the battlefield. Bringing Yingxue might mean hardships for her. Wouldn't it be better to have Yingxue stay and keep you company for a while longer? Are you suggesting she stays to keep me company? The Empress Dowager's scrutinizing gaze settled on Qin Ji. No sign of Qin Muyan Lise. Qin Ji suddenly felt guilty. Mother, a mother knows her daughter best. Her thoughts were instantly seen through by the Empress Dowager. Alas, Jie, it's not that I do not care for Mu Yang, but Ingxue and Yihan's feelings for each other are strong. Moreover, they are already married, the deed is done. Why cause unnecessary trouble? I will have Ru Lai annul the betrothal between Mu Yang and Ingxue, as if it never existed. You and Ru Lai should take your time to carefully choose another partner for Mu Yang. The Empress Dowager held Qin Je's hand, her voice earnest and heartfelt. I know you have no children of your own and have always treated Mu Yang as if he were your birth son, but his marriage is ultimately not something we can control. In her tone was a note of compromise. In the past, when Shunyu impersonated Su Ingxue, she wanted to decide Qin Muyan's marital affairs, only to nearly make a grave mistake. Only then did she truly understand that, despite their high positions, not everything is under the control of people who seem to be omnipotent. In the end, they are only mortals with flesh and blood, subject to birth, aging, sickness, and death, happiness, anger, sorrow, and joy. They are not the deities who control life and death. Qin Je's smile was bitter at the corners of her mouth. Your daughter acknowledges this, but feels sorry for Mu Yang. Thinking of how Qin Muyan had spent the past few days languishing in the prince's mansion, Qin Ji felt heartbroken. She had not been able to give her child the best, what he most desired. It was a failure on her part as a mother. The next day, Su Ingxue took her leave from the Empress Dowager. In the Funning Palace, the Empress Dowager's eyes rimmed red, fighting back tears as she held Su Yingxu's hand, speechless and choked up. Su Ingxue also felt reluctant to part. Grandmother, rest assured. After the great Cheng dynasty stabilizes, I will return to visit you with your highness. Good, I know, I will be waiting for you. Even after just one night, the Empress Dowager seemed to have aged considerably, her hair whiter. Su Ingxue wasn't sure if it was her own illusion, but the Empress Dowager seemed ill. But when she had administered the antidote for the sleeping draught that day, she had not observed any unusual symptoms in her physical condition. These past days, she had intended to re-examine and take her pulse, but the Empress Dowager said that the court physicians were taking care of her and that there was no need to trouble anyone, so Su Ingxue did not insist. At this moment, she wanted to take the Empress Dowager's pulse. However, the Empress Dowager steadied herself with Qin Je's hand, diverting the attention. Jia, where is Mu Yang? As her cousin, how can he not come to see Ingxue off when she is about to leave? Qin Ruli frowned, quite puzzled. Indeed, in these past days, I have not seen him attend court properly. I wonder what he has been doing in the mansion. Anxious they might see through any ruse, Qin Ji quickly said, Your Majesty, Mother, Mu Yang has been training troops in the military camp these past days and is quite exhausted. Recently, he has been at home contemplating military strategies, in case of emergency. Thus, he neglected Ingxue, and it is truly regrettable. With an apologetic look towards Su Ingxue, Qin Ji said, Ingxue, your cousin has been busy and unable to see you off. As your aunt, I apologize on his behalf. All the travel provisions I prepared for you have been given to your people. Take care on your journey. Thank you for your thoughtfulness, aunt, said Su Ingxue with polite gratitude. Yet, she noticed numerous gaps in Qin Je's words. During a chat with Qin Ruli a few days ago, he mentioned not having seen Qin Muyan for a month, with no sign of him even at the army camp, leaving his whereabouts unknown. With Qin Ji making excuses, it seemed that Qin Muyan was not having an easy time in the mansion. But wasn't she the cause of it all? Dog food, you'll get used to it, Lise. Su Ingxue felt somewhat of a headache, and after leaving Wei Palace, she spent her time on the carriage in a daze. After a long while, she heaved a heavy sigh. Chu Yihan looked up from his report, a hint of mockery curling up at the corner of his mouth, reluctant to part ways. Are you? Yes, Grandmother is so old, to endure this separation, how distressing it must be. Although she didn't have many years of emotional connection, the kinship by blood and the care she had received in recent days made her treat the Empress Dowager like her own family. Your Highness thought you were reluctant to part with another, not the Empress Dowager. The look in Chu Yihan's eyes returned to the report, but his tone was decidedly cool. Su Yingxue examined his serious and handsome face, stifling a laugh on purpose. Yes, both of my cousins have been very kind to me, especially Qin. How has Qin Muyan treated you well? Before Su Yingxue could finish her sentence, Chu Yihan slapped the report down on the small table with a smack, even causing the legs to become crooked. Su Yingxue burst out laughing. I'm talking about cousin Qin Ruli. He gave me many medical texts, had all the secret formulas and excellent remedies from the Imperial Medical Academy of Great Wei copied for me, and was very supportive of my ambition to spread clinics throughout the world. He instructed me to make sure, when the time comes, to bring mature modern medicine to Great Wei and benefit the people of Great Wei. A flicker of discomfort passed over Chu Yihan's face. Is that so? Then you should study it thoroughly. I do plan to research thoroughly. How is it that my husband, the formidable ninth prince, has taken to getting sour and jealous so often these days? Su Yingxue deliberately pushed the matter in Chu Yihan's face, just in time to see a flash of discomposure in his eyes. Truly satisfying. Chu Yihan, using his strength as a man, had bullied her not a little at night. Seeing him discomposed now, Su Yingxue couldn't feel more thrilled. It was as if all the days of backaches and exhausting labor had paid off. Hey, Your Highness, what are you doing? Chu Yihan scooped her into his arms in one move, startling Su Yingxue into yelling. What do you call Your Highness? Your Highness, there are people outside. Mochi can hear us, and there are commoners on the street too. What should you call Your Highness? Hubby. Still feeling triumphant. I'm not triumphant at all. I didn't. Inside the carriage, the woman's voice carried a hint of threatened fear, half genuinely alarmed and half insincere. Then came a sequence of embarrassed, heart-fluttering, intimate noises. The shadow guards on either side felt their faces redden unconsciously. The leader cast a glance and kept steadily driving the carriage. Mochi, sitting closest to him, sent an admiring look his way. Commander, you're really steady. Had he mastered the art of blocking out sound? How could he remain so unflappable? Mochi, expressionless as he drove, responded, you get used to it. In the great Cheng dynasty, had heard and seen plenty, and hadn't been spared his share of lessons. Over time, he became accustomed to it. Just dog food. Had made a special stomach for it, so as not to burst. His immunity was pretty good these days, and it hadn't yet burst through his evenly proportioned, attractive figure. But it did often remind him of someone. In consideration of him, Su Yingxue spared Hong Lian her life, imprisoning her in the dungeon, never to emerge for the rest of her life. She said, whenever he wanted, he could go see her. But so much time had passed, that strong yearning he once felt, and the joy that came with touch. Gradually, it all but dissipated. Mochi was briefly lost in thought and nearly collided with someone ahead. The man rode a majestic steed, dressed in battle armor that fluttered vigorously. He was awe-inspiring, with a remarkably strong presence. The baby feels a bit wronged, Lise. Su Yingxue immediately leaned out. Mochi, are you tired of driving? Let me do it, and you go rest inside the carriage. The carriage bumped, giving Su Yingxue the chance she had been waiting for to break free from Chu Yihan. She hurriedly jumped down from the carriage. But on the road ahead, Qin Muyan was waiting for her on horseback. Qin Muyan approached her and extended his hand, his eyes deep. Yingxue, mount the horse. Your Highness has something to say to you. Su Yingxue had intended to ask him to get down and talk, but a man's low roar came from behind her. Su Yingxue, don't you dare. He was threatening her. Su Yingxue huffed and placed her hand in Qin Muyan's, allowing him to take her away on horseback. Qin Muyan's horse sped off quickly, disappearing from everyone's sight after a while. Mochi turned to ask for instructions. Master, should we bring the princess back? With Su Yingxue fleeing with Qin Muyan right in front of Chu Yihan, it seemed Chu would have destroyed the great Wei dynasty out of spite. Let them be. From inside the carriage, a man's voice, cold as ice and barely containing his rage, could be heard. Conscious of his duty, Mo Qi alighted from the carriage, and with the shadow guards, moved away from the carriage. To their surprise, Chu Yihan ordered, "Proceed. Proceed. Are we not waiting for the princess?" One of the shadow guards whispered tentatively. Mo Qi gave him a strong pat on the back and squinted at him. "Follow the master's orders. Those who talk too much will receive their punishment." The shadow guard who got hit had tearful eyes. The baby was just worried about the princess. The baby felt a bit wronged. Qin Muyan took Su Yingxue close to the military camp. Today, he had come from the prince's mansion to the military camp. Standing on the high mountain behind the camp, overlooking the soldiers training below, Qin Muyan couldn't hide the sorrow in his eyes. "Yingxue, is there truly no chance for me?" He had fallen for Su Yingxue at first sight, with a deep affection that he had never abandoned. He had tried everything, and in the end, he even waited for the truth that Su Yingxue was his cousin to whom he had been betrothed. But in the end, fate was making a fool of him. Su Yingxue held his horse's reins and lightly patted its manet. "Yes, cousin, you have no chance. I love your highness, and I am married to him." Such a straightforward answer. Decisive and final. Not leaving anyone with any hope. A sharp pain surged through Qin Muyan's heart, more intense than the worst injury he had ever suffered on the battlefield. Su Yingxue knew he would be hurt, but she had to say the words she had prepared. "Cousin, I am honored to be your cousin by blood, and I am honored to have met you." "Like your highness, you are a hero of our time, the arm of the nation, but Su Yingxue is only one person with just one heart. I have promised myself to your highness and cannot promise myself to anyone else. My mother once said, 'One life, one partnership, no room for another in between.'" These words hit Qin Muyan like a storm, pounding into his heart. He desperately tried to block them, but they recklessly stormed into his heart, leaving it battered and wounded. "Fine, then your highness will send you away." Qin Muyan's eyes were slightly red, his barely concealed anger and frustration clearly written on his face. He had never known the feeling of not getting what he wanted. But now, he had to face the reality. His beloved cousin, his Su Yingxue, he had to part with her for life, never to have her again. Before leaving, Su Yingxue told him another truth. "Cousin, actually, your young aunt Qin Zheng has long been deceased. My mother, Long Shuli, is not her." The initial heart still remains Lise, but the one who crossed over into her body was a modern soul, and as for what a modern soul is, after we together vanquished Wu Dao, I think you also understand. Qin Mu Yang was so shocked by this revelation that he couldn't regain his composure for a long time. He did know that Wu Dao was a soul from this world, as were Han Yuan and Rong Sheng. So his little aunt, no, it should be said Su Yingxue's mother was as well. Thinking back, this matter did not seem so strange after all. Though he had never seen his little aunt, the imperial brother said she was always a gentle and timid girl, far different from the world-renowned Long Shuli. Therefore, the person with whom you were betrothed is already gone. Our betrothal has not been fulfilled, and you need not dwell on it. Su Yingxue advised. The greatest regret is not that one has failed to obtain what they desire, but that what was rightfully his was mistakenly given to someone else. If it was never his to begin with, it should be able to untie the indissoluble knot in his heart. Qin Mu Yang's smile was mournful. "It seems, your highness, we were truly not fated. If only his injuries had been more severe a bit earlier, if only he had met Su Yingxue a bit sooner." Now, thinking about these things was meaningless. Qin Mu Yang helped Su Yingxue onto the horse. "Since it is so, your highness will not obstruct you and Chu Yihan any longer. This horse was discovered by your highness in the forest. It took quite some time to tame. Capable of traveling 1,000 li in a day, fiercely loyal, it has followed me through many battles. Today, your highness gifts it to you." Before Su Yingxue could say anything, Qin Mu Yang patted the horse, as if communicating with it. No sooner had he left the horse, it raised its hooves and neighed. It lifted its front legs high in a display of wild grace, showcasing its ability to cover great distances. Yet it did so without harming Su Yingxue in the slightest. Su Yingxue was amazed. What an impressive horse. To receive such a fine horse from Qin Mu Yang, how embarrassing for her. Cousin, what is the horse's name? Since Qin Mu Yang offered it with such sincerity, it would be terribly rude not to accept. Qin Mu Yang smiled faintly. Since it is a gift to you, it's your horse. You should name it. Su Yingxue held the reins, glanced at Qin Mu Yang once more, and after a moment's thought, she said, let's call it Chushin. Good. Qin Mu Yang did not ask about the meaning behind the name she chose. He stood in place, watching her as she spurred the horse and left. As he watched her retreating figure, the longing in his eyes transitioned from intense to ethereal, diluting bit by bit until it vanished into nothingness. He turned and entered the military camp. Riding Chushin, Su Yingxue hurried to catch up to Chu Yihan. The forest breeze was refreshingly pleasant, and her smile gradually blossomed. Chushin is most beautiful. To not forget Chushin is to remain true to the beginning. All things in this world come to this. Qin Mu Yang's treasured gift, she would remember in her heart. She would surely never forget. Years later, Chushin would still be there. Chu Yihan was having a tiff with Su Yingxue. Along the way, Mo Qi and the shadow guards all complained bitterly. Both masters were very composed, each more resilient than the other. But those who served them could not endure it. Mo Qi, accustomed to being tormented, was doing okay, but the other shadow guards who followed suffered miserably. In front of Chu Yihan, one would be punished each day, and the punishment was to return to the shadow guard camp for retraining. They had all finally graduated from the shadow guard camp and had yet to really show their skills. So, just like that, they had the ill luck of being sent back to start over. What rotten luck! You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.